of the integrating finance and non-finance data. So this is a new one, and it would be very helpful for the listeners to understand and also grasp the concept, which is a bit in line of the time and contemporary issues. We have the line of speakers today. We have Dr. Anurag Priyadarshi, the Director, Sustainability of Tata Consumer Products Limited. We have CF Vishal Bhavsar, who is the Head Corporate Sustainability in Ultratech Cement. We have CA Atul Kumar Gupta, past President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We have Sir Vijay Kapoor, the former Director of Board of Studies of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Sri Kamal Garg, a practicing CA, and also he is a certified independent director. Sri Ravi Kumar Patwa, the Chairman EIRC of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We are really fortunate to have all of them, and we understand that this deliberation will definitely help the attendees to have an addition to the knowledge bank. With this background, we are very happy that Dr. Anurag Priyadarshi, the Director Sustainability, Tata Consumer Products Limited, is today with us as the guest of honor. It's our privilege, sir, to welcome you to this seminar, and we hope that the deliberations in the inaugural session will definitely help us to understand the sustainability issues that you are handling. Over to you, Anurag, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sarkar. That's really a privilege for me. Good afternoon, everyone. All my young colleagues, I can see you from here, and I'm sure you can hear me. And all my colleague panelists on this discussion, a very esteemed panelist. Thank you so much for inviting me. The National Foundation for Corporate Governance, the Tezpur University, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, a very important topic you have taken for discussion. What I will do is today start by sharing a few thoughts and maybe more details tomorrow in the technical session. So I will share my screen here. And while it is being shared, I think a quick introduction in terms of my name is Dr. Anurag Priyadarshi. I work as the Director Sustainability in Tata Consumer Products. Tata Consumer Product is a new name, but the products that we make is in all your homes. Desh Ki Chai and Desh Ka Namak, Tata Tea and Tata Salt, and a few other products. I've been in this experience of about 20 years in my field. I worked here. Before this, I worked for IKEA, which is a Swedish home furnishing company, one of the largest in the world in that field. And prior to that, I worked for Sony, the Japanese company, electronics company. So, this experience of working in a Japanese company, in a Swedish company, and in an Indian company, it's been a value fit and a lot of learning experiences for me. Along with this, I've dealt with various issues in the supply chain around environment, social, human rights, and of course, all of that coming to in terms of reporting. So I will, try and summarize all this experience through this slide, especially for my colleagues and my young team who is on this call. So how do you try and make an impact through your sustainability work? I think that's important. What are those key differentiators? What are those key success factors? And so through the experience, I call it the Chaturbhuj model, which means, the four hands, the four forces model. Whenever we do anything on sustainability, on CSR, if all these factors are aligned, then we are more sure that this is going to be successful. This project will be more impactful. This program will have more reach. The four partners, the four motivations, the four commitments, and the four processes. The four partners, the support of the government is absolutely vital, and that's where government, the regulators, and all the agencies like the chartered accountants, cost accountants, all of them come into play. The Tea Board of India, competitors. So I'm going to give you an example how Tata Tea and Unilever, Hindustan Unilever, we are competitors in the market, but we have come together in a pre-competitive collaboration to improve the lives of the tea communities from where we buy tea, which is a very complex supply chain. I'll give you an example of trustee in the next few slides. Community groups, and when we say community groups, it's all about all the industrial associations. It is about also the community groups in terms of village development councils or other community groups, panchayat level, with whom you want to work, and technical partners. Technical partners are your NGOs, they are certification bodies, they bring in a lot of international experience also. You're good to work with different types of technical partners. The four motivations, regulatory compliance is one of that. Professor Sarkar just now mentioned about the need for reporting through BRR and now BRSR. There are a few other reporting requirements like the Companies Act has been changed, and you have the CSR under section 135 of the Companies Act, which requires you to spend 2% of your CSR on CSR projects. We also do, but that's one of the motivations. Many companies like ours go beyond regulatory compliance. And here we lean on our ethical values. Tata ethical values are always for helping the communities. Risk management, and that's very important because every business carries its risk, business risks, human right risks. And therefore, how do we manage all those risks through various projects and programs that we do in sustainability? Market opportunities, and I'll give you one small example of how we use, how Jago Ray campaign of Tata Tea opens up new market opportunities for us. Four commitments, and this is very vital. Companies need to be committed long term. I mean, you can't think of making impact just in 1 year or 2 years, at least 5 years, if not 10 years. So for me, that's absolutely a important thing. You need to be committed to whatever project you want to do, and give secure funding. Every project will need funding. There is always going to be a crunch on resources, but as good project managers, you need to find out those. And finally, measurable targets. I think measurable targets, where do you want to reach? What are your targets? How many beneficiaries? What sort of impact you want to make? I think all those targets. Do we want to be net zero? Like for our company, we are looking at being net zero. We have science-based targets by 2030. So all of that builds into our sustainability roadmap. And finally, the executive time. When I say executive time, I mean the time of my CEO, my managing director, my senior directors, my senior leadership. Are they able to give time to this? Not just within the company, but outside. So I am able to get my CEO to go to Assam at least 1 week in a month, in a year, 1 week in a year, and go there and talk to the beneficiaries, talk to the communities, go to the tea gardens. I think that's, talk to the NGOs. That's a huge impact. The four processes, like we said, in terms of, and the four processes are basically, I'm sure you've read about the Deming cycle. So it's around that: plan, do, check, and act. So plan, you plan the program in a good way, work with good partners, you implement the program, you verify and evaluate it, and then based on that, you get some improvement opportunities, you use the opportunities, and you have a next phase of the same program. So quickly going into some of these projects, which will help to highlight these points. I think I talked about the ethical values, and for Tata Group, in a free enterprise, the community is not just another stakeholder, but is in fact the very purpose of its existence, a statement said by our founder Jamshedji Tata 150 years back. Now, he is saying that community is at the center of everything we do. And this is 150 years back, before, CSR or creating shared values, everything, all of this was not even a buzzword, it was not known. But within the Tata Group, I mean, our founder laid the stones that how we should be working. And in Tata companies, we almost always follow this, and that has been a reason for our success. I don't have to say much about the group itself. You know that it's a large group with a revenue of more than $100 billion and more than 8 lakh employees. But I'll come back to what we are as a company, Tata Consumer Products. We are the Tata Salt, the largest salt brand in India, and Tata Tea. We also have Tetley in our portfolio, which is the largest brand in Canada and UK. So we are the world's second largest tea player. We have water. We are the largest salt company. We have a large portfolio of coffee and in USA and UK markets also, and a water portfolio. Tata Sampann is a pulses brand. We have huge scale and scope of what we do. We have a budget of about 50 crores, reaching 1 million beneficiaries. From a ESG perspective, which Professor Sarkar was referring to, we are in the top 25% of the companies in the ESG rating of FMCG companies globally, in ratings like CDP, in ratings like Sustainalytics. We do 27 projects in 7 countries in Asia, Africa, America, Europe, Australia. And we have factories and offices in 72 locations globally. I also do a lot of volunteering. We do a lot of volunteering. Tata Group is one of the world's largest corporate volunteers, doing more than 1.25 million hours of volunteering. So based on our strategy that we have, and I will just take 2 more minutes without going into too many details right now. The social impact, where we talk about our food portfolio, we looking at, about Tata Salt. Tata Salt has been simply responsible through a product that we created to be able to cure iodine deficiency in India. I mean, everybody uses Tata Salt, and for a large country like India, we do not have iodine deficiency or goiter. I think a lot of credit can be given to this product. Yeah, we have also introduced salt with low sodium, because a lot of people have higher hypertensions. For them, low sodium is needed. We also introduced now iron fortified salt. And this is very useful because there is a lot of iron deficiency in Indian communities, especially among women. So we believe that we can help fulfill that gap. We have spices and water, glucose. But I think our pulses portfolio is excellent. We are the first one who introduced unpolished pulses, because when you polish pulses, you remove some nutrients. And also they use some sort of a lubricant, which is not good for health. We also have a lot of tea portfolio, but excellent ones are green tea, which is very good for health, and we also provide vitamin-based green teas. And the last one on this list is, super grains. I think a lot of our Indians, we've forgotten the ancient grains like millets and ragi. So we are introducing that through our brand called Soulful. So what we are doing is we are creating impact through nutrition. We reached 200 million households. We are trying to reach 4 million households by 2030. Also through our project called Trusty, and I was talking about having good partners. And this is an excellent example, working with the 4 partners. Trusty is the world's single largest sustainable agricultural certification for a single commodity in a single geography. And we are able to, and what this means is we are telling our consumers that we will buy tea only if you are certified to Trusty. And what is Trusty? Trusty is a certification of a tea estate, you can see here more than 900 tea estates across India. What does this certification mean? This certification is all about having good agricultural practices in the tea gardens. It's about taking care of a management system, farm management system in a tea estate. It's about taking care of the soil fertility, taking care of agrochemicals like pesticides, like fertilizers. It's about working hours, wages, overtime, human rights. It's about environment, biodiversity. So it's a very comprehensive standard. The unique thing here was that it is a pre-competitive collaboration. It was driven by the government of India initially, wherein the Tea Board of India and the chairman of Tea Board of India actually came in and they said, we need to, the tea industry in India is not very competitive. How can we make it more modern? So can the large competitors like Hindustan Unilever and Tata come together and do something about it? So using the good offices of the government, we pre-competitive collaboration between us competitors coming together and working with our producers to get them to certify. So we fund this program, and about 3 years back, Wagh Bakri joined it, which is the third largest in India. So between the three of us, we've been driving this program to become the world's largest certification, agricultural certification. It is, you can see 790 million kilos, which is about 60% of Indian tea, has been transformed, reaching more than 650,000 workers, most of them, majority of them women, also reaching small growers, 80,000, which is about one third of all small growers in India, 320,000 hectares and about 900 entities. But what it has also done is it has opened market opportunities for tea gardens who were earlier not able to sell their product in a good way. They get premium. It has also helped in standardizing the wages according to the Plantation Labor Act, providing all the benefits, including housing, sanitation, including maternity benefits, etc. So a huge task, but we also managed to get international implementing partners from Netherlands called Solidaridad and IDH, and they brought in international expertise which they had used for other crops like coffee, cacao, palm oil in other parts of the world. And therefore this is amazing. I mean, because you are all in, sitting in Assam, I think it's important for you to know its biggest reach is actually in Assam, on the tea gardens in Assam. Almost 60% of the tea gardens there, both big and small, have been transformed through this program. They are trustee certified, and therefore better working conditions, better living conditions there. I will stop here, and just one last thing I'll talk about is how does market opportunities, the Jagore campaign, I'm sure you've seen it, read about it, and we've had some celebrities, but most importantly, we've talked about, we've used a very good platform on television channels, on social media, and try to make a change. Jagore means not just drink your tea, but also wake up. Your conscience wakes up, your attitude changes. So it was about corruption in the beginning, if you remember old advertisements, but over the years, in 2014, we had an advertisement, Power of 49, which was about 49% of the electorate is women, and if they can come and vote, then it can be a game changer. We can bring in better governance in the Indian political system, and that happened actually. From 2014 onwards, a large number of states are seeing majority of women voters coming out and vote. We also ran not just a TV campaign, but also on the ground. We worked with an NGO which went out and helped people if they did not have their they were not registered voters, then it helped them to get registration and getting voter ID cards. We do a Desh Ka Kullad program, which is helping artisans. But during the COVID, we ran a campaign called Badon Ke Liye Jagore, distributing food kits in so many states, because Bado means the elderly, and they were at the receiving end of COVID. So we felt that they needed help, they needed food, they needed support. We gave them a helpline number so that if they needed medicines that can be delivered, and so on and so forth. So I think, and not just in India, we also reach out in Malawi, which is another country where there a lot of support is needed for the communities. So we work with UNICEF, the United Nations Children Fund, for better communities. Children there do not have a good way of growing up. Most of them are stunted. So through this program, they get education, they get better nutrition. They don't have lighting, more than 70% of the houses. So we provide them through this program, through UNICEF and Ethical Tea Partnership, solar lamps, which improves, substantially improves their lives. Also giving them a village loan scheme, which so that workers can start their own enterprises, they can become small entrepreneurs, and then of course kitchen gardens, because you can improve your nutritional profile if you have a kitchen garden. So I think I will just stop there. There are a lot of more other things we do, but thank you so much, and over to you, Professor Sarkar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are fortunate to have you and a great company like Tata. And you could see the young participants are there. We have got around 488 registrations when we stopped today at 3 p.m. And probably the things which you are telling will definitely help the budding managers, that the world is very big. It is not only the profit that for which organizations work, but there are people like Anurag Priyadarshiji, who is there. There are companies who are looking after for sustainability and other things. We eagerly look forward for your session tomorrow, sir, and hope the listeners and the attendees will be much more benefited with your sharing of experience with as a director sustainability in TCPL. Thank you very much, sir, once again for the wonderful journey of your company and you as the as a whole. And we have the fortune also to work with you for a very short project, even though, but we could see that how TCPL is working for Assam people, the development of Assam. Myself and Amitabh Banerjee was there in the project. Really, we are grateful to you, sir, for giving us the opportunity, and hope that we will be, connected to you in future also. Thank you very much, sir, once again, and we will see you tomorrow again in the technical
Thank
section.
you so much.
Thank you, sir. We have the next guest of honor today, Sri Ravi Kumar, Ravi Kumar Patwaji. He is a name, a brand name in the in this area as an excellent chartered accountant. He is currently the chairman of the EIRC of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Sri Ravi Kumar Patwa is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, has in practice for more than 20 years. His firm has grown steadily over the years under his guidance, and he has having more than 6 offices in the country. And it is the first ever firm in the Northeast to be in the category 1 firm. Academically, he has secured 6th rank in India and also the 2nd rank in Eastern India in the DISA, DISA, that is the Diploma in Information System Audit examination conducted by ICAI. He has been an active participant in various activities in the profession and is a public speaker of repute. He was the chairman of Guwahati branch of the ICAI in 2008 and 9, and also he is a member of various advisory bodies of Government of India. So we have the privilege to welcome Sri Ravi Patwaji to this seminar, and request you to just share your experience with the attendee. Over to Patwa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sudhanshu Shekhar Shorkar. Dignitaries present here, including Mr. Anurag Priyadarshi, whom I have heard for the first time, and I must say that I'm thoroughly impressed. Mr. Vijay Kapoor, who has played a stellar role in ICAI. Friends, I understand that there would be a lot of young people in this group of audience, as it is a university program, and I do love to interact with young people. Mr. Priyadarshi was speaking, and he represents Tata Group. I'm sure that many of you, the moment you are given a Tata Group job, would perhaps grab it with, wide arms. And even if the pay package is maybe 5 to 10% lower than some other top corporate of the world, you will perhaps prefer Tata Group. Yes or no? I wish I could hear, but I'm sure that most of the people would actually be saying yes. And if we have to buy a product which has Tata's written in it, we'd go for it without any doubt. If we have to have a set of customers who are loyal to their company, Tata's would be one of them, those companies. And in the society, if we have to talk of one corporate which has been really doing well for the society, we would perhaps think of this group. Now, does it actually directly help Tata Group in making profits? Directly, it does not. It actually incurs cost. But does it help indirectly or not is the question. I'm sure most of you would now understand why I'm talking about this. And I picked up Tata Group because Mr. Priyadarshi spoke, and what other better group can I be thinking of when I'm in India? Ultimately, the employee retention, the customer loyalty, the social support, etc., are of paramount importance for all corporates. But the society or the governance, I mean the people in governance, not of the company, but of the country, they perhaps did not think of it in that way. But the top corporates have always contributed to the society, have always contributed to environment, and have actually benefited immensely in the long run. That is where the basic thought process of, call it triple bottom line, call it ESG, or whatever name you give, but that is where the actual concept of sustainability of a firm, of an organization, of a company comes. And in the short run, many corporates can make good profits, but until and unless you contribute to the people of the area that you are serving and contribute to the planet, to the environment of the area which you are serving, there is a limit to which you can grow, and there is a limit to the period up to which you can grow. So for sustainability, it is of one of the most important things to contribute to planet and to the environment also. ESG, as we know, is environment, society, and governance. And we have to, as already been uttered by Mr. Sarkar, and all of you must already be knowing that the top 1,000 companies, listed companies of India now have to report on ESG, give an ESG report. And, right from the beginning of this coinage of the term triple bottom line, when John Elkington first coined it in 1994, covering people, planet, and profit, the basic idea has been that a corporate should not only be making good profits, but from that profit, the corporate should also be contributing to this to the planet and to the people. That is the reason why ICAI, as an organization, has been pushing for triple bottom line since long. That is also the reason why the government of India thought that many companies perhaps are not contributing to the society and to the environment in the manner in which they should. Some of the companies were doing it voluntarily, and some of the companies even today do it more than what they are required to do compulsorily. But many of the corporates were not doing, and that is the reason why this corporate social responsibility or CSR scheme came into being, where 2% of the profit has to be spent by the larger corporates for the benefit of the society and environment. Friends, you have speakers who are going to discuss in depth about this subject. I'm not here as a speaker. I've been invited as a guest. In fact, I was pretty sick and I'm still almost bedridden. But the chairman of the Guwahati branch, Gaurav Garodia, was insistent that, sir, you have to be there, even if it is for 10-15 minutes. And I must compliment Gaurav that had I not been here, I would have missed Mr. Priyamdashi's speech and I would have missed meeting all of you. It's my fortune, it's my good fortune that I ultimately decided to come here despite all adversities, and I'm here speaking to you. I am not as an expert speaker, so I would refrain from entering into the details of the subject matter or entering into the details of whatever the other speakers are going to brief you about, detail you about, or brief you about, or talk to you about. So with these words, once again thanking Tezpur University, of which I have very fond memories. I remember it was in 2004 when I went to Tezpur University for the first time as a speaker on information system audit. Anyways, thank you very much to Tezpur University and to Mr. Sarkar for deeming it fit to invite me here for this inaugural session. Thank you very, very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And we fondly remember your visit in 2003-4 when we conducted the seminar there, and hope that you will be visiting us also in future times.
Would be a pleasure.
Always good to listen to you, and you accepted the request from us and Gaurav, so thank you once again. And as you know that we will be continuing with the session. As per the agenda, we had the address from the Executive Director of NFCG, but NFCG Executive Director is now again being given to Sri Vikas Mahanji, and incidentally he had some already engaged meeting at that point of time, and so he has sent the regret for not joining from at this moment live, but NFCG is with us. We have already shared our link to the trustees of NFCG, and probably some of them, the respected members, may be joining us from NFCG site. So thank you for Anurag ji, the Ravi Patwa ji, for addressing the participants, the young budding minds here. We have with us Sri Vijay Kapoor sir. Sri Vijay Kapoor, just to give a short introduction, he joined the educational wing of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, in 1983 as a faculty in the core area of auditing. He served as director in multitude areas, that is the Board of Studies, Auditing Standard Boards, among others. Prior to joining ICAI, he worked as a lecturer at Sridham College of Commerce, Delhi University. He was also a member of the Executive Council for Foundation of National Foundation for Corporate Governance, NFCG. Sri Kapoor has been a part of the report of implementation of accounting standards for educational institutions prepared on behalf of MHRD Government of India. His active involvement is there in education and training of the CA course, contributed in bringing out the ICI's publication. He is involved in the history of accounting profession in India and currently is advisor to Deloitte. He was also appointed at OSD in 1998 for operationalizing the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Nepal. He is associated with Tezpur University. We are really grateful to him for helping in designing our course in Department of Commerce and also in other areas. He is a really prolific writer and a very active participant in the field of corporate reporting, and he has contributed a lot of advices to various regulatory bodies on the reporting and reporting matters. Sir, now the forum is for you. So I think you can now address the budding managers, the practicing chartered accountants, the whole gamut of participants here. Over to you, Vijay Kapoor, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sarkar. I'm grateful to Tezpur University for always giving me an opportunity to interact best of the professionals in the country, best of the students in the country, having been in touch with the Tezpur University students personally. It's a great opportunity, Professor Sarkar. So I'm grateful to Tezpur University for giving me this opportunity. And I'm also happy to interact and meet people like Anurag Priyadarshi, Ravi Patwaji. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much. Gauravji, nice meeting you. So it is always a great privilege to come on a forum where so many professionals are there. And I think I don't have to repeat, Tezpur University always does a wonderful job. In fact, the way they have actually designed this program is excellent. Bringing people from academia, from the industry and the professional at one forum is a great job done. And I can assure all the participants, those whosoever have registered, they shall not regret. In fact, the presentation by Anurag was so enlightening. Actually, and as Ravi said, such kind of presentations must inspire the younger generation. In fact, frankly speaking, when I was looking at the presentation being made by Anurag, I have been put on a defensive foot. Here is a group of the companies in India conglomerate which does so much of work for the community. It should inspire us. It should uplift our motivation to do something better in our lives. So it's a great thing, Professor Sarkar, and I congratulate you and your team for doing this wonderful job. So I'm also grateful to the participants. I'm looking at very large number. I can look at the class of students sitting in Tezpur University. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of lessons from this. In fact, I'm feeling out of place now. When I'm looking at all these people, a person who is actually not in the active job, who prefers to relax all the time now, has been asked to speak on a topic of sustainability. For a moment, in fact, I was wondering whether I should come and deliver a talk on this or not. I must share with all the participants. Earlier, Professor, I was wondering that I have to deliver a talk for 10 minutes. I yesterday told Professor Sarkar I plan to speak for only 5 minutes. And there was a bouncer from him. No, now you have to speak for 20 minutes. So I'm taken aback. Sarkar, the topic on which I have not done anything so far in my life, I thought still I will do this because I feel that we are living in very tragic times. Forget about the pandemic and COVID. I'm sure that we have been very lucky. All of us have been very lucky and fortunate today we are able to look at each other. The tragedy of our times is that we are spending billions and trillions of dollars to find life on other planets. But at the same time, we are spending trillions of dollars to kill life on only one planet on which we live. That is the Earth. In fact, I look at the today's topic only from one aspect, that our one planet on which we human beings live, it is being made miserable. According to me, sustainability, environment, social, ESG, climate change, these are not buzzwords. I'm not sure about myself whether in our lifetime people will be able to live on other planets, but for the younger generation like you have to find out the ways and means how this planet can be made survivable, how it can be made sustainable. It's not a buzzword. In fact, day before yesterday, Sadhguru started a movement, the deforestation, how the soil quality is going down. Whenever I look at these things, in fact, it makes me a lot of sometimes agitated also. I always wonder that why so many medicines do not work. I always wonder that why so many pharma companies are growing at such a fast rate. Are they doing some kind of a sustainability kind of a thing? So there are a lot of question marks. So I will say that this topic is very close to my heart. What I speak to all of you, it comes from me. But since I'm a student of accounting and auditing, I will not be able to talk with that kind of authority on the sustainability and how the corporate world should go about it. For me, it is close to my heart. So I will say namaskar to each one of you. And I say that if I'm living on this planet Earth, I would like to start with a Vedic prayer today. That Vedic prayer goes like this. Lokaha samastha sukhino bhavanti. That is, may our whole world be endowed with happiness and well-being of everyone on this earth. It is also crucial that each one of us, each individual's actions, words, and thoughts must also contribute to the happiness and well-being of each one of us. When I utter this Vedic prayer, I get more eliminated like this, that it is not that I'm talking about myself. We are talking about the entire universe. Because it is because in our lifetime, we are able to come to stand that everything stopped for a while in the entire world. So according to me, when I looked at the theme of the program, beyond board's governance, from sustainability to integrity reporting, I was very happy to look at the title itself. But as usual, I am from academics. I try to analyze it. I said, why NFCG people or why our Professor Sarkar and Amitabh, and they all have put together beyond board's governance. Please understand, all the sessions are directed how the corporate boards are going to have a look at it. But the putting of the word beyond board's governance, in fact, made me very happy personally. I thought here we are dealing with not a problem, it's a critical problem, that we are going beyond the board's purview. There is something, if we want to address, it has to be addressed by each institution, each organization, and each individual on this earth, if we really wish to have a sustainable kind of environment where we can live happily. Otherwise, new diseases, new medicines, we are living in a circular impact, it shall never end. It shall continue to be there. The kind of pesticides and chemicals which are put into the vegetables, So let's understand it very clearly. So I'm very happy with the theme on the face of it, that we must be able to look at the beyond board's governance. As far as the theme is concerned, if I drop the word beyond, what we are talking, board's governance, from sustainability to integrity reporting. Let me tell you all very clearly that sustainability and integrated reporting are well within the powers and duties of the board of directors of the company. It is not beyond them. In fact, the program should be able to evaluate how exactly the boards are going to do their jobs, what kind of things are happening in the world, how much corporates are able to achieve it. When I said Anurag Priyadarshi has put me on the defensive since the kind of presentation he gave on the Tata Group, it was really very impressive. Think it for a moment, even if fraction of what is being done by the Tata and some other big groups in the country, I'm sure that our lives would have been very comfortable. We would have never faced so many problems as we are facing today. So as a young student leaders of this country, potential of this country, you must understand everything is not well, even in the entire world. Implementation levels are very, very low. I think I will try to give you some points on this particular issue. But I'm happy that corporates are doing it. And now in the context of that, we must achieve the net zero emission by 2050. Our government sitting on the high table and making a commitment to the rest of the world, I think we as Indians can do it. In fact, there's a slight setback as far as the electronic vehicles are concerned, that we have to really propagate at a much, much faster pace. So net zero emissions levels can be improved, provided each and every individual of the country becomes conscious of one's own duty, and we shall be there. Nobody can stop us. Because as I will conclude in my talk, I will say that how our PM Modi has committed and how those commitments have to be actually realized in the real life. So we can achieve all this. It is not difficult. So theme of the conference, you are going to discuss many things in detail. So I'm happy that they will be all dealing with these things in detail with you. Now coming back to the first point, I started looking as a good student of accounting and auditing. I thought I must look at the duties of the board of directors. And yeah, I was amazed that what is written in the Companies Act, Section 166, subsection 2 of the Companies Act deals with the duties of director. In subsection 2, it is written very clearly that a director shall act in a good faith. Now, please mark my words. A director shall act in a good faith to promote objects of the company for the benefit of the members as a whole. I'll say put full stop here. I read it once again. A director of a company shall act in a good faith to promote objects of the company as a benefit to all members of the company on the whole. That is the duty of the director. That means I must be able to look at the objects of the company. This is what we call as the maximization of shareholder wealth. If I look at the Milton Friedman's capitalist theory of economics, we find that a company must try to achieve the maximum value for its own shareholders. But interestingly, the section 166(2) does not stop here. It goes a step further. A director of a company shall act in a good faith to promote the objects of the company for the benefit of the members as a whole, and acts in the best interests of the community, company, employees, and shareholders. So that means I'm not only working for the benefit of the members. A director must work in the best interests of the employees, must act in the best interests of the company, must act in the best interests of the employee, I must act in the best interest of the shareholders. Benefit for the members, best interest of these four categories. The sentence still does not end there. And act for the protection of the environment. If you see this sentence, you can break into three parts. First, we are talking of benefit of the members, best interest of four categories, what we call it as the stakeholders, and finally, in protection of the environment. So first, we are talking of shareholders' value. Then we are talking of the stakeholder relationships, and then we are talking of the environment. My question to the entire professionals and the academia is that today, how, and here we're talking of a director of a company. Now, whether it is a listed company, public limited company, private company, or guarantee company, it is not distinguished anywhere. There are 12 lakh companies, out of which about 80 to 90,000 are public limited companies. Rest of it are private limited companies. About 6,000 companies are listed companies. The section 166(2) does not distinguish between the duties of a director with respect to a listed, public, or private, or guarantee companies. I asked a question to myself that whether in all these companies, when a director sits on the company's board, does he think that whenever he is taking a decision, is he working for the benefit of the members? Is he working for the best interests of all the stakeholders? And is he working for the protection of the environment? That means a director should be making a balanced decision amongst all these three elements. For a moment's time, to a student of law, I think there's a lot of conflicts, inherent conflicts therein. I also was wondering that whosoever has drafted this particular paragraph outlining the duties of the director must be a wonderful chap. He must be having vision 2050 in his mind when he was trying to communicate what is the duty of a director, But let's remember it very clearly that if I try to maximize shareholders' wealth, will I sacrifice somebody else's interest? Or if I'm trying to look after the environment, if I do spend money on the environment, will I forego the benefit for the shareholders? Normally speaking, friends, there shall be a trade-off between the decisions, whatever I take. If I try to take one decision, it shall not be beneficial in the same manner for everybody, How to balance it out, I do not know, but I'm leaving it with a question mark to you, how it can be done. But coming to now how it is happening, that if you look at these three categories, in fact, there are so many initiatives are there. Global GRI is there, Global Reporting Initiative, triple bottom reporting used to be there. Then, of course, IIRC came into the picture. Then there is a task force of G20 on the, climate change financial discourse. So many things have happened. On the other hand, Ministry of Corporate appears to be pretty active. They had voluntary guidelines in 2009, 2011 National Voluntary Guideline. From there came to the business responsibility reporting. From there came the business reporting, social responsibility reporting. So all these things are happening at the same point of time. Now, while making these decisions, now how it is going to help the company in actual practice? I could not find any kind of a research study in India, I scanned through some of the Harvard business reviews, and I came across a wonderful study. It shall be of interest to the teachers who want to pursue and find it out. There is an article which appeared in the Harvard Business Review. They studied 3,000 companies listed in the United States from 2002 to 2011. Now, all students must understand it very clearly. On the x-axis, they posted ESG performance. On the y-axis, they posted the financial performance. They noticed as soon as the company increases the ESG performance, the financial performance starts coming down. Meaning thereby, there is an inverse relationship between the ESG performance and financial performance. So that means why a company should spend on the ESG performance. The question is that if you are spending money on ESG, I think Anurag did make a point there that long term, when he was trying to put his Chaturbuj, he did point out a long time, and he also put it that investment. Please understand, whenever a company shall put money in the environment, social and governance aspects, in that case, initially, the financial performance shall come down. But if a company keeps on spending on the ESG, at the same time, please remember it very clearly now how important is the role for the startups and the financial techs and all innovators. If along with the ESG spending and performance, if the company starts investing in the new products, new processes, and new business models, financial performance also goes up. So there is a constraint. If a company wants to improve financial performance along with the ESG performance, then it has to adopt certain innovative measures. And innovation comes at a price. So there has to be a lot of budget for that. It's quite risk-taking. Number two, innovation has got a long payback period. The country in which we live, every quarterly we are looking at the result that how Infosys is going to perform. According the prices will zoom and zoom out, So there is a pressure on the executives for the short-term performance, But innovations come at a long-term payback period, So innovation is an expensive proposition. So it is for the companies to adopt that whatever ESG they are doing. For a student, in fact, you can see our 166.2 first talks of governance, then it talks of social, then it talks of environment. But in the real world, we have put environment first, social, that means societal relationship second, and the governance, that is internal control and the risk management as the third one. So ESG is a comprehensive term which is being used for the sustainability measures, So that you have to remember. Now the question is that I try to then pick up some of the Indian companies. Of course, lately I found that Ambuja claims to be, say, one of the ESG compliant company. It says that it ranks 4th in the world as the Dow Jones Responsibility Index. Mahindra's, we have never heard of Mahindra Steel Division. Mahindra says it is a ESG compliant company. It is supplying steel to the BMW company in Germany, So it is not that things are not happening. Quantum Advisors have brought out a fund, in fact, the ESG related funds, where they say the average returns are better than as respect to the others. So these companies are engaged. But I'll give you 2 examples of the company which actually did low-tech innovations at a low cost, but had the capital return on this. But of course, stock market also shined for some of them for some time. One is the Sheri Cement. Sheri Cement did a lot of electricity conservation, and of course, it has been paid off now. Today it is considered to be one of the best companies. The second company, surprisingly, is not doing well on the stock exchange is the Jan Irrigation. Jan Irrigation is into the micro irrigation thing, and it did encourage the farmers to adopt its systems, and they picked up certain costs in the beginning. So with low-tech innovation, Jan Irrigation has been able to brought in a lot of sustainability. And I think there is one more company which did this kind of a thing very recently. As example comes to my mind, I'll share it with you. So it is the companies which are now doing innovations at a low-tech, short payback period as well, but it's a very, very difficult thing. But for a board to have a trade-off decision is very, very difficult proposition. As far as the board is concerned, when we are talking of financial performance versus ESG performance, one more example comes to my mind. I think as a student, you must remember one of the first company which in the US went through this mode. They didn't have the word sustainability at that point of time. They used the word corporate responsibility committee they had formed in 1998. And they had appointed a woman with the name of Jerkil Conway to head that committee. And Nike's study on corporate responsibility is one of the celebrated classical study, how the sustainability and innovation in the terms of, say, abuse in the, say, slave workers, overtime, fixed overtime, overheads, etc., was taken care of through innovative measures at the Nike. So Nike study is also a very classical study in the study of sustainability as of today. So having looked at this, now the question arises that when our boards have to do this, I think it's a very, very difficult proposition. But today, as we set out, according to me, whatever board they want to do, they should have a sustainability committee, a sustainability strategy to do this. First step is that they must identify the material or critical issues with respect to ESG. Why I'm saying this? If a company wants to work in ESG areas, I think Anurag and Vishal and there are some companies are working in this area, they have to identify the materiality areas going through the materiality maps developed by SASB, Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. Please remember, as I said, for pharma industry, waste products will be of some kind. For chemical industry, waste products will be of another kind. For, say, FMCG industry, the waste products will be of some other kind. So for each industry, material and critical issues shall vary. So for which we say the first step is that you must look at the materiality maps developed by Sustainability Accounting Standard Board, SASB. That is the first step. Second, one must quantify the financial impact. The third is that you must be able to have an innovative strategy to tackle that materiality aspect. And finally, communication is done through the what we call the integrated reporting. Integrated reporting means financial performance as the ESG performance are combined in one. I can only tell my participants that today, in fact, yesterday, there was a news that from Integrated Reporting Council, it came to Value Reporting Foundation. Today, Value Reporting Foundation and IFRS Foundation have joined hands, and they have formed the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB. So where they will integrate both the financial performance and the ESG performance. So going forward, what we are trying to look at it, there shall be some kind of a consistent, uniform, comprehensive, reliable data which can be accessed by the people. They can look at the performance of the company. Let me tell you very clearly that I go through a BRSR or so many reports. Most of us, since I'm a student of accounting and auditing, we take these reports as stereotype documents. We actually do not go into the details. We don't read them in details. In fact, let me tell you, as in coming from accounting profession, I can tell you that size of the audit report perhaps is the longest in India vis-a-vis rest of any other company in the world. But still we find that people are not happy the way the auditors do their work. In fact, the auditing community has put such a great load of Caro, latest 22, on their foreheads. I do not know how many pages in the report would go in future. To understand the audit report has been a challenge. I used to call it as a stereotype. People will take it for granted. As long as it is there, people feel happy. Nobody goes through the contents of this. To read an integrated report, now further being developed by IFRS Foundation, shall be of great interest. As an accountant, my question is, how these figures which shall appear in that report shall be captured? What kind of level of assurance shall be attached to this kind of a report? There are big questions on this. According to me, data entry poses one of the biggest problems when we talk of even financial statements. They can be manipulated. So in case of sustainability reports, we have been telling companies they should try to capture data, either through blockchains or some other measures. So you have to capture data. Actually, you should not be allowed to enter the data. The moment data are entered, manipulation aspects come into play. Even the International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, day before yesterday, I had put up a LinkedIn post on my name, where they have stated that $35 trillion going into the sustainability. The ESG audit is a farce in its infancy. It is not being done properly. They used a term, horrendous term, I will call it. They used the term greenwashing. That means people are spending money, where it is going, nobody knows. So it is very important that ESG disclosure should be made comprehensive, should be made comparable, should be relevant, and on the top of it, a level of assurance must be there. So I'm sure that global standard operators are working on this. They shall come out with the standards well in time, which shall provide the level of assurance to the report users. Finally, of course, as I said, that the issue of sustainability is of crucial importance. Our PM Modi made a statement 5 days ago. I want the younger generation to understand it. He said that zero effect. He said zero defect and zero effect. The zero defect means that, please understand, whatever we are doing in our own country, we must be globally competitive. We cannot be second to none. We have to be the best if we want to compete in this. So zero defect. That means if we are producing anything, we have to have a zero defect. A wonderful statement. We have to be globally competitive. We cannot compromise with the second best anything in the world if we want to be there in the top of the world. And please understand the way our GDP is growing, the way we sit on the head table every time, we have to take on these challenges. So globally, we have to be competitive. So zero defect and zero effect. That means no effect on the environment. A big challenge for the manufacturing industries to actually combine these both things in the real practice. So I pray that, as I stated in my Vedic prayer, that it is not the corporates alone who shall be, can achieve this object. It's a very, very giant task affair. And in fact, each individual, through our thoughts, through our actions, and through our word, must work for this sustainability if we want to this planet Earth livable one. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Sarkar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the nice deliberation. It is always nice to listen to you. And you have just made the ball rolling on this particular seminar. And you have set the tune of the discussion. As you have already correctly told that it is not only the corporate that which can do in this particular area, but it's up to us. You can see in the seminar hall, the young minds are there. So it is always heartening to know that how companies are doing in this particular field. And probably when the next generation will come into the practice, this will come not only as a regulatory measure, but also it should come from heart. Thank you, sir. Thank you for telling the essence of the seminar. Thank you once again. We welcome C.A. Kamal Moore, the immediate first chairman of the Guwahati branch of EIRC. And now it's time that the inaugural session, we extend the vote of thanks. We have with us the current chairman of the Guwahati branch of EIRC of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Sri Gaurav Garodia. Gaurav Garodia is the son of a renowned chartered accountant, Sri B.D. Garodia. Gaurav is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He acquired his membership in 2003 and is in practice for last around 20 years. He is also a member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Institute of Cost Accountants of India. So my dear students, just see a chartered accountant, a company secretary, a cost accountant. So he secured All India 4th rank in the intermediate examination and All India 7th rank in the final examination of the Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. He has also completed the post-qualification diploma in Information Systems Audit from the ICAI and also the certificate course of in the concurrent audit of banks, forensic accounting, and fraud prevention, and also the goods and services tax. We are really happy to have you, Gaurav, as one of the organizers for this seminar. And we just invite you to extend the vote of thanks for the inaugural session. Over to Gaurav. Gaurav, is it unmute your microphone? And Gaurav, we cannot listen to you. So Gaurav was here, but for some technical reasons, he cannot join. Kamal is here. Kamal, can you add something here?
Good evening, sir. I hope I'm audible, sir.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I could join in the later part, sir, because we were having a seminar in our university. So I joined a little late. My apologies for the same. I could listen to the last part of what Mr. Vijay Kapoor was explaining. And I'm sure that, sir, you added the point that this sustainability reporting has to go in a long way in the times to come for the newer generation who are coming into the CA profession and entering into the area of practice. I really look forward to this wonderful program of 2 days. And we have, let me also inform the members that we have a galaxy of speakers lined up for the 2 days. So dear students and dear members who are joining this program, please take the most of the benefit of this program. Sir, I would also like to add here is that the Institute has also come out with one certification course on business responsibility and sustainability reporting. A lot of members of CA Institute have already qualified this course, and many more members are joining this course to gear up for the upcoming audits which are lined up. I'm sure this will be a great program. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you, and you are also one of the persons who have taken initiative for this seminar.
Always a pleasure to sir to get associated with the Tejpur University, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So we are just going to end the inaugural session, and we are really grateful to Gaurav. Are you here now? We are really grateful to the Tejpur University Authority, including the Vice Chancellor, and of course, our words are not sufficient to thank Dr. Anurag Priyadarshi ji for addressing the galaxy of participants. Actually, we have got participants from all over the country, right? Eastern side from Assam to Gujarat, in the south as well as in the north. We are really grateful, sir, for your excellent deliberations, and the students can also listen to your things and the Tata Group things. We are grateful to see Ravi Patwaji and Sri Vijay Kapoor, sir, and also to the NFCG. So myself and on behalf of Amitabh Banerjee, sir, so we are extending our gratitude to you for joining the inaugural session. And we will be starting with the next technical session with CA Atul Kumar Gupta ji. After we'll show one video of NFCG, and immediately after the NFCG video, we'll starting technical session 1 with CA Atul Kumar Gupta ji, while our Dean School of Management Science, Professor Papori Borua, she will be joining at technical session 1 to introduce the speaker for technical session 1. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. Abhijit, can you play the video for NFCG for 10 minutes? Yeah. Abhijit, please.
Corporate governance has been the keystone to successful economies. To align with these global ethos of good governance, to ensure transparency, to boost confidence amongst investors, and build trust in the stakeholders, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA, in the year 2003, partnered with Confederation of Indian Industry, Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, set up the National Foundation for Corporate Governance, with a vision to be a key facilitator and reference point for the highest standards of good corporate governance in India and its mission, NFCG further made a significant difference to Indian corporate sector. Post 2010, other stakeholders also came forward to join NFCG in fostering a culture of good corporate governance practices. For more than a decade, NFCG as a catalyst has been successful in sensitizing industry on the implementation of corporate governance practices through seminars, conferences, workshops, and directors' orientation programs, thus contributing to the society at large. Developing a framework for corporate governance reforms, the foundation not only facilitates the effective participation of diverse stakeholders, but also deepens links with national organizations for collaborative actions, promoting voluntary adoption of corporate governance practices as the key to sustainable wealth creation. With this continuous endeavor to strive for excellence, NFCG is changing the regulatory landscape in the country, gaining a momentum for better corporate governance in every way possible. NFCG is continuing its initiatives towards achieving this goal and thus fostering the economic progress of India.
Thank you, Abhijit, for showing the NFCG film. So we are really grateful to the National Foundation for Corporate Governance for taking up the issue of good corporate governance practices in the country. And we are also joining NFCG as an accredited institution to promote corporate governance in the Far East region of the country, in Assam, in the Northeastern region, etc. There are some queries and questions from some of the participants, and which will be taken up in the technical sessions actually. Amitabh Banerjee sir is coordinating that. We had actually a break planned, but the technical session 1 we will continue without the break. Banerjee sir, it is all right? We'll continue with this.
Yes, sir.
The technical session 1, we have Sri Atul Kumar Gupta ji, but we have the privilege to welcome the Honorable Dean, School of Management Sciences, Professor Papuri Borua with us.
Thank
Professor
you.
Papuri Borua joined Tezpur University way back in 1997. She is an expert in the field of human resource management, and also she has been teaching for a long period of time. She has been consultant to many of the corporates in the areas of performance management. And we are also privileged to have you, madam, in the session. And it is our privilege to request you to introduce the speaker of technical session 1, CA Atul Kumar Gupta ji, to the audience. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Professor Sarkar. I hope I am audible.
Perfect, ma'am.
Good evening. We are privileged to have with us CA Atul Kumar Gupta, past president ICAI. He will be speaking on the concept of stewardship in corporate governance and CSR. We know that CSR has been mandated by the company, but the concept of corporate stewardship as theory of corporate governance existed long before. This session will set the tone of the seminar by introducing the participants to the concept of corporate citizenship and the duties associated with it. Our speaker, CA Atul Kumar Gupta, is a staunch leader and has risen to the highest echelon of accounting profession to acquire the position of the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the year 2020-21. The second largest accounting body in the world after being its vice president in the year 2019-20. He has served the accountancy profession for more than 2 decades and is widely respected for his strong organizational skills and deep insight in the affairs of profession. A commerce and a law graduate by education, he served as the chairman of Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, Board of Studies, IT Committee, and Indirect Taxes Committee of the ICAI. Under his stewardship as Board of Studies, the new scheme of education and training of the ICAI was benchmarked with the revised international education standards and was launched in the year 2017. With deep interest in the research, he is credited for the project of preparation of accrual-based financial statements of the Indian Railways, the third largest railway of the world, under the ambit of Accounting Research Foundation. He has also been chairman of ICAI Accounting Research Foundation, an extensible business reporting language, India. He has also been director of the governing board of Indian Institute of Insolvency Professionals and registered valuers organization. With his diverse and deep knowledge, he has served in various governmental bodies in past. He has been first chairman of the Accounting and Finance Services Sectional Committee constituted by the Bureau of Indian Standards. He has also been the member of Government Accounting Standards Advisory Board, Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, that is IRDA, SEBI's Primary Market Advisory Committee. On international front, he is on the board of International Federation of Accountants, XBRL International, and South Asian Federation of Accountants, that is SAFA, and representing ICAI in the International Integrated Reporting Council. He earlier has been the chairman of Committee on Education, Training and CPD of SAFA. Being thoroughly conversant with the professional concern and demands of his time, C.A. Gupta has authored many relevant books and has published numerous articles in leading newspapers, magazines, and professional newsletters, and delivered lectures in about 1,500 seminars and conferences. I would now request Sri Gupta to share his views in this first technical session of the seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. And at the outset, the respected colleague from the university and the profession, it's my proud privilege to be the part of this program. And thanks for the introduction as well. I'm feeling privileged to be the part of this program today evening. I just wish to ask a question before I start speaking, that how much time I have to speak, maybe for 30 minutes or so, or less than that?
Yeah, we will end the session at 6:10 p.m., sir.
6:10.
Because, yeah, we will allow some questions and answers also.
So I will
now we are having 5:30. You can have 25 to 30 minutes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you very much, sir. And friends, as rightly mentioned by madam in our introductory speech, that the CSR, corporate social responsibility, which is actually, if you ask me, that India is the only country where it is mandated to have the CSR expenditure at the tune of 2% of the net profit, which we are going to discuss in the time being. Whether it's a corporate governance or the CSR, India is always on the front line volunteer to ensure that the purpose for which the organizations are working, certainly they are looking for the wealth maximization, but how we can contribute to the society, how we can pay back to the society. It's very, very important that the endeavor and the vision of the organization should be there on that particular direction. And that's why you can see that there are a number of reforms which are being introduced and initiated by the government of India, may it be in the shape of a CSR, that the first ever mandated CSR in India. And then we have recently witnessed the introduction of the compulsory mandatory reporting on the BRSR, that is Business Responsibility and Sustainable Reporting, which was voluntary since 2012, but now has been made mandatory for the 1,000 listed companies based on their capitalization, the top 1,000 listed companies based on their capitalization. So, my dear friends, there are a number of things which we can discuss. And as rightly mentioned by Madam Barua, that the stewardship. So, if you ask me what is the meaning of a stewardship, is about the initiative by the corporate that let us contribute. So, stewardship can be taken as a leadership position, that somebody will take the initiative, and I believe that this is the finest example when you will find that the CSR, the government has though mandated that the 2% expenditure should be there on the CSR from the net profit, but there is no penalty provisions which are being introduced, or even there is no audit which is required to be conducted in case there is whether there is a compliance of the CSR expenditure or not. Yes, the board has to give a report in the annual report that what all they have contributed, and in case they have not contributed, they have not incurred the 2% of the expenditure, it is only that they have to give a statement into the same, into the annual report, that this year they could not spend the 2% on the CSR, and next year they will certainly make up whatever the shortfall is there. So that's called the stewardship, that the self-imposed regulation, self-imposed initiative introduced by the corporate is called the corporate stewardship under the regime of CSR. Now, my dear friends, as you are aware that there is a mandate which was being introduced in Companies Act, the erstwhile Companies Act 1956, and then in the 2013, it was mandated that the 2% of the net profit has to be incurred as far as the CSR is concerned. And that in case the company has a particular threshold and the net profit for the 3 consecutive average net profit of more than 5 crore for the 3 years, then they are required to have the mandatory expenditure on the CSR. My dear friends, I will touch upon the other part of the CSR, that why it is.
Sir, you are muted, sir. Sir, unmute the microphone, Gupta, sir.
Okay, I was speaking, so you could not hear anything? So
just last 10-15 seconds. Yeah. It's all right, sir.
Okay. So I was sharing with you that the stewardship, which I was mentioning about, that the corporate stewardship as being introduced, as being shared by Madam Barua, that talks about the self-imposed regulation and the initiative, the leadership, that since though the vision of any organization is to have the wealth maximization, but at the same time, how you are meeting your social obligation, the society, towards the society, from where you are using the resources. And that is something, the corporate stewardship, which was being introduced in India. And India is first country where it is being mandated as well. I was sharing with you that not only the CSR, which was introduced by the Companies Act 1956 and then mandated by 2013 Companies Act. Recently, you witnessed the new amendments into 1920 as well. Apart from that, I just wish to apprise my colleagues here that India, to ensure that the organizations are fulfilling their obligations toward the society, they have now mandated the BRSR as well. That is called the Business Responsibility and Sustainability Reporting, which is much beyond the CSR, because the corporate social responsibility talks more about the society, but the BRSR talks about not only the social aspect, but also the aspect related to the environment and the governance as well. So when we talk about the CSR, maybe it includes the social and the environment, because there is a provision in the CSR expenditure that in case you are doing something for the environment, that will qualify to be a CSR expenditure. But governance part is being covered under the BRSR. Now, my friends, as you are aware that in 2012, it was voluntarily introduced, called as BRR, that is Business Responsibility Reporting. But in the last year, the BRSR was mandated by the SEBI for the top 1,000 listed company based on their capitalization of this market, that they have to give a mandatory report on the BRSR from the 1st of April 2022, meaning thereby for the financial year ending 31st March 23, they have to give an annual report about the compliance related to BRSR as well. Now, my dear friends, why the CSR should be there, why the BRSR should be there, I will speak maybe after a few minutes, but just to clarify you a few aspects about the CSR, because at times we have certain confusions about the CSR. So it is my duty to give you the fact about the CSR. As you are aware that the threshold which is being prescribed, wherein the companies has to mandatorily contribute for the CSR, apart from the net worth, they have given the average net profit of more than 5 crores for the 3 years. If that is there, the company has to have the 2% of the expenditure, the net profit of the 2% of the net profit as the compulsorily expenditure for the CSR. And in case, as she discussed, Barua madam discussed, that it is a stewardship. So meaning thereby it's not a mandatory per se that there will be a penalty if you will not do, or there will be some kind of audit will be there in case how you are spending your money. But it is a voluntary kind of a disclosure which is required by the company, though they have to mandatorily expend. But it's how you are spending, it's a voluntary contribution. And even in one particular year, if you are not able to spend the expenditure towards the CSR, then you have to give only a note in the financial statement that next year we will make up the loss which we are not able to contribute for the CSR per se. So what I'm trying to convey you that in case a company A is there having a net profit of more than 5 crore, average net profit of more than 5 crore for 3 consecutive years, then they have to spend 2% of the expenditure. Say for example, a company is there having a net profit of 8 crore. So they have to spend the 16 lakhs rupees as a CSR expenditure. And in case they are not able to spend 16 lakhs in one particular year, then that unutilized amount will be added into the next year kitty in a way that maybe the next year if the profit is 10 crore, meaning thereby 20 lakhs rupees will be the CSR expenditure. So whatever balance will be there for the previous year, that will add into that 20 lakhs rupees to incur for the CSR expenditure. My dear friends, there will be certain questions. There will be certain questions by the colleagues that in case, for example, somebody is spending, rather than spending on the expenditure, giving some money to the hospital. So whether that will falls under the definition of a CSR expenditure, I just wish to share with you that yes, the answer is that whether either you have to spend the money on the CSR or you can give, even say for example, you are giving to the hospital, that will also qualify to be an CSR expenditure. My dear friend, there will be question in the mind that whether I have to incur the CSR expenditure in cash, or that okay, you have to give the somebody money, or you can give even in the kind. Say for example, there is a hospital where a company is there who want to donate a MRI scanner or something like that. The hospital is a charitable hospital. The hospital is not a commercial hospital per se, is being run by an NGO. In that case, if somebody is giving a machine, MRI machine to the, or any other testing machine to the hospital run by an NGO, then also the same will qualify for the same as well. Now, my dear friends, as you witness that at times you will find that there is a particular NGO which is taking the money from the organization by saying that, okay, I will incur the CSR expenditure. But they are incurring majority of the expenditure on the administrative side, rather than they are actually giving the benefit to the needy person. So as being clarified in number of times under the CSR guidelines that the maximum administrative expenditure by a NGO for the CSR account can be only 5%. So for example, there is a project wherein the 30 lakhs rupees has to be 30 lakhs rupees has to be spent on the various welfare benefit of the needy person, then only 1.5 lakhs can be the admin expenditure, which can be added into the CSR expenditure. Beyond the 5%, it will not add into the CSR fund, which we are talking about. Now, same way, there is a question which is being raised in the query that whether the scholarship given to the needy students will classify for the CSR fund. The answer is yes. In case you are giving the CSR fund for giving the scholarship to the needy student, that will fall under the CSR category, and certainly that can be treated as a CSR expenditure by the corporate. As I clarified you that whether there is any audit is required for the CSR fund, I just wish to clarify you that there is no audit per se which is being mandated for the CSR fund. Only a report has to give that okay, the CSR expenditure which was supposed to be incurred, supposed to be spent, was spent or not. My dear friends, that there is again a question that in case somebody will not spend, whether there will be any penalty for the non-spending of the CSR expenditure. Say for example, my profit is 8 crore and I have to spend 16 lakhs. I could spend only 12 lakh rupees. So whether there will be any penalty, the answer is no, there will not be any penalty. Only the point is that somebody, the company has to disclose in its annual report through the board that okay, there is an unspent expenditure of rupees 4 lakhs, which they will spend in the next year. So that clarification, they have to give a clarification, a report has to be shared. Otherwise, there is no penalty which is being prescribed under the CSR guidelines. Then there is a question. So whether the CSR expenditure is a operating expenditure or is appropriation, meaning thereby that the to arrive the net profit, whether you will reduce the CSR expenditure from your income profit and loss account, or it will come after the net profit. So just I wish to clarify you, the CSR expenditure is not operating expenses for the company. It is after the net profit you have to appropriate 2%. So meaning thereby to arrive the net profit, you will not deduct the CSR expenditure. It is only the after the net profit you have to take out the 2% of the net profit for the corporate social responsibility. My dear friend, I just wish to share with you that whatever the CSR policy of the organization is there, under the corporate stewardship program, they have to be approved by the board. So that's a mandatory requirement that whatever the CSR policy of the organization is there, that has to be approved by the board. Some questions were being raised at different occasions, whether the Chief Minister Relief Fund, so if some organization is giving the donation to the Chief Minister Relief Fund, whether that will fall under the definition of a CSR expenditure, the answer is no. As I clarified you that as such, there is no, there is only a specified funds. For example, the Prime Minister Relief Fund or others, wherein only the CSR expenditure qualify that okay, in case you are not able to spend the money or you are giving a donation to the Prime Minister Relief Fund, then only that will qualify to be a CSR expenditure. Then, my dear friends, there are a number of other activity. For example, you are organizing a training program. Now, like this, you are having a training program. I can witness in the seminar hall. There are the young students who are sitting in the hall and they are getting trained for the seminar. In that case, if the training program is of the university only, say for example, a company is organizing a training program for its own employee. So whether that will fall under the CSR expenditure, the answer is no. So the CSR expenditure should be for a general public, wherein the employee of the company can also attend. But it should not be a case that, okay, whether the CSR expenditure is for the employee itself. So when you are organizing the program, when you are running, for example, somebody is running the crèche, somebody is running the some other welfare activity for its own employee or to a particular section of the society, then it will not fall under the CSR expenditure. If it is for the general public, then only the CSR expenditure will classify to be will be taken as a that they are the legitimate CSR expenditure. My dear friend, at times there will be a question that okay, somebody is developing a skill training program. So whether the capital expenditure incurred for the CSR, for example, you are getting constructed a skill training center. So that whether that will classify as a CSR expenditure, the answer is yes. So I just wish to share with you that these are the few aspects that we have to take note, so that we can have the a better understanding of the CSR. I have a number of other aspects which I can share with you when I'm discussing this. I just wish to share with you that say for example, you are giving some training or something, or you are giving support to some organization which is actually charging. Say for example, some organization is charging 10,000 rupees for a particular training program. Now you are giving a 3,000 rupees as a subsidy, that okay, you will give the subsidy to everybody who is attending the program. Now whether that will fall under the CSR expenditure, the answer is no. That will not fall under the definition of a CSR expenditure, because ultimately the organization, or even say for example, one of our colleague, for example, I can take a name, Madam Barwa, is running a training program. And now she's saying that, okay, normally my charges are 5,000 rupees for giving a training, but I will charge only 3,000 rupees. So whether the 2,000 rupees will fall under the definition of a CSR expenditure, the answer is no. That will not fall under the definition of a CSR expenditure. I have received certain questions from our colleagues. For example, can you let us know about CSR project? So actually, you move to the another. Is CSR expenditure helpful for SME sector? The answer is yes. That in case you are organizing some awareness program in the CSR expenditure to help the SME sector, then that will fall under the definition of a CSR expenditure and will be a allowed expenditure. There are the certain specified activities which fall under the Schedule 7. There are the certain activities which are being specified under the Schedule 7. That all fall under the definition of a CSR activities. That is only allowed as per the norms which is being provided. The question from Devashish Vishwas is it possible to make a list of the CSR activity on the basis of a real need of the society? Yes, there is a possibility that based on the Schedule 7 and the general parlance, you can develop a list where the CSR expenditure will be allowed, as we can discuss. Now, my dear friend, there will be the number of other queries, because I have more than 150 FAQs which are generally available, and even I can share with you the general FAQs which can be used by your students and otherwise by all the stakeholders for their learning purpose. So let me not speak much on the CSR per side, but I just wish to share with you why this CSR and why this BRSR is very important. I just wish to share with you that I am aware that the next session is about the BRSR as well, but I just wish to draw the attention of my young colleagues who are attending this program, that when we discuss about the CSR or BRSR, normally what is happening, that we are taking this BRSR or the CSR as a matter of obligation, as a matter of a moral values, that okay, you have to contribute in the society because you are earning the profit. But my dear friend, I just wish to apprise you that today the CSR, or in the shape of a BRSR, is more the value as compared to the values. So what I'm using the word, the two word use I'm using, the values versus value. So values, if you ask me what is the meaning of a values, it's the moral value. It is the commitment, obligation towards the society. So that's why whenever we are discussing about the CSR, or whenever we are discussing about the BRR or the BRSR, normally the companies were not adopting the CSR or the BRSR, because they feel that it's a matter of obligation, or it is the duty of this government, because we are paying the tax, so it is the duty of the government to incur the expenditure on the social welfare. So why we should incur the expenditure on the CSR or the BRSR per se? But my dear friend, just wish to share with you few words which are very, very important for each one of you to understand, because this is an emerging area that you must have heard about the COP26 and the other forums where it is being discussed, that now rather than the values, it is even the value proposition. It is the value proposition which is very, very important for this looking into the CSR or BRSR. What I am trying to convey you, my dear friend, please try to understand. When we are discussing about the BRSR or the CSR, it talks about the more and more sustainable organization. So if your organization will be more sustainable, it will not collapse overnight because of the lack of governance or lack of the policy or lack of the vision. Then ultimately the investors will lose their entire money. That's why you may have witnessed that the companies who are having the huge profits, but their product is not society friendly, they are not getting the money from the investor. So what I am trying to convey you, that gradually the CSR and BRSR has taken a shape of has taken a direction, a dimension towards the sustainable investing. So please take my words as a sustainable investing. What is the meaning of a sustainable investing? The investment which looks towards the sustainability of the organization, that looks towards the sustainability of the society. So what is happening? Say for example, our colleagues who are sitting in the audience. Mr. X is there. He wants to invest 2 crore of rupees in a company. He will always look whether the company will be a sustainable company or not, whether the company will survive or not, whether the company has a future or not. Now, how you will assess? Certainly, you would like to see the policies of the company, the governance structure of the company, the relation between the employer and employee in the company, and how this company is looking towards the society. So in case there is a widespread fight between the employees and the employer, whether the company will be able to survive. The company is dealing, say for example, in the fossil fuel, which are going to actually ban in the times to come. There will be a depletion of the fossil fuel stores. So what will happen with the company? Company will not be able to survive because they deals only in the traditional fuel rather than the renewable energy resources. The company may be having a lack of governance in the system, and there is a widespread penalty which is being imposed on the company because of the various non-compliances. So in that case, Mr. X will not invest 2 crore of rupees in that kind of a company, and he will be investing only in the companies where the sustainability is better as compared to the peers. So what is happening across the globe, I just wish to draw the attention, because this is a new area where the professionals will be required. If you ask me that how many professionals, how many jobs will be there in the times to come, I can tell you there will be the million of jobs which will be there in this particular area where the sustainability reporting and the sustainability investment will be there. So what is happening? That globally, the investors are looking for certain factors. So say for example, a company is having a turnover of profit over 30 crores, and on the sustainability factor, they are performing only 0.3. So what will happen? Actual net profit of that company will be treated as 9 crore, and based on that, the EPS will be calculated that way. What will happen? You will invest in that company based on that factor, which is on the sustainability part, so that it will be a more and more viable investment by you. So there are the different parameters, different permutation and combination, which the companies are now deploying on the particular profit of a company to see that whether company is a really sustainable company or not. And that's why it's very, very important that today the BRSR or the CSR should not be seen only with the values proposition, but it is now the value as well. Company valuation, investment, because you will agree with me. You will agree with me that companies, when they are looking for the wealth maximization or improving the efficiency, the two very, very important factors which are very important to discuss here is about the cost of capital, and number two is the efficiency. Now, when we are discussing about the cost of capital, you will witness in the times to come. Recently, you must have reviewed a circular issued by the Indian Bankers Association that every large credit, for example, a bank is there giving a credit of rupees 100 crore. Now the borrower has to comply with the BRSR requirement or the sustainability reporting requirement, meaning thereby the borrower who will not fulfill the BRSR requirement or the sustainability requirement will get the loans on a much higher rate as compared to the normal organization which is complying with. So what I'm trying to convey you, my dear friends, that the CSR, which was being taken as a more obligation in the previously, which I termed as values, that it is an obligation. So you feel, oh, why I should invest my money on the CSR or BRSR, because it's more the moral values. But now looking into the cost of capital, the valuations, the flow of equity, which depends on the BRSR or the CSR requirement, the companies are adopting in a large scale. And that's why you have witnessed that not only the SEBI has mandated the BRSR for the 1,000 top listed companies, but there are now the rating agencies are getting established for the BRSR or the sustainability rating as well. So there is a new dimension which is emerging out, and that's why today the hottest topic to discuss, and even the next session is about the BRSR for you only. I was looking into the program structure that is on the BRSR itself, which will, I believe the speaker will explain you that how the BRSR is going to report by the Indian corporates in the times to come. So it's very, very important that each one of us should understand that there is a huge expectations gap vis-a-vis the earlier version of CSR, BRSR, and today's version of BRSR, when it looks towards more the values as compared value rather than the values per se, which I was discussing. So my dear friend, this was something about the CSR and the BRSR and how the stewardship is taking the shape. I have number of other aspects which I can discuss about the Q&A of the CSR related aspect. But as being discussed by the honorable colleagues from the university, that I have to speak up to 5:55, meaning thereby 17:55. So it's around 17:54. So let me sign off from here for the question Q&A, so that in case you have any doubts, you may ask me the Q&A, and then maybe we can discuss the other aspect related to the CSR or the BRSR. So over to you, the moderators, maybe the Madam Barua or anybody who is looking towards the Q&A in this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for understanding so many things, really. And I think the students might have also listened to what you have talked about the nitty-gritties of the CSR expenditure auditing. It's always good. Over to Amitabh Banerjee, sir, for moderating the question answer.
I just wish to answer the question which is there already in the Q&A. Dr. Niranjana Dev is asking a question where there are the various private sector banks who are not able to utilize the earmarked CSR expenditure. What need to be done? So I just wish to share with you that right now the position was that in case you are not able to spend, then you have to give a report and you have to create a provision in your financial statement that you are not able to spend. But with the advent of time, now the depositing the money into the bank, a specified bank will be there. So practically all the unutilized expenditure, unutilized money, which is earmarked for the CSR expenditure, will go to a specific bank account where the organization has to transfer in case there is any unspent amount is there.
Thank you, sir, for the clarification. Sir, one more aspect. I think one of the participants had asked was about the impact. Now, as we all know as professionals, that impact assessment is something which was not there in corporates. It was only mere reporting. So if you can elucidate on that, because impact assessment is going to, join the dots of mere reporting and ground reality.
Sir, actually, if you ask me the impact assessment, it's a very large subject, and even nobody can complete for even if you will speak for 1 year. So impact means that whatever the expenditure you are incurring and for the purpose you are incurring, whether that is being achieved or not. For example, when we are discussing about the BRSR or any project related to the environment, you are conducting a study of an environment impact assessment, EIA. Then with the SDG, the new concept called the social impact assessment, SIA. So likewise, when you are incurring the expenditure for the CSR, the government is looking that whether the expenditure you have incurred, so whether it was, for example, it was for the skill development, it was to provide the support to the SMEs, how it support the society. So when we are saying corporate social responsibility, how it meet up the social responsibility, that is something that need to be assessed by the each and every expenditure you are incurring for the CSR. Now, when I am saying so, if you ask me whether it is a BRSR or it is CSR, the global challenge is about the subjectivity of this assessment, because now there is no standardization process available. These assessments or the impacts are more subjective. They can't be quantified in the quantitative terms. So how you will be able to assess them? Where is the standardization? Where is the international benchmarking is available? And how you will compare the assessment of one project to the another project? Say, for example, you are teaching the school children free of cost, whereas the another person is doing a CSR expenditure by teaching the middle-aged employees to make them the skilled employee. Now, there are the two projects. One is that you are teaching the school kids free of cost, and another that you are creating a skill mapping into the workable employees, workable youth, employable youth. Now, how you will be able to assess, how you will be able to measure, how you will be able to compare this assessment, the impact assessment, that is the actually, I will say, the big question before the international community. Even in the BRSR, when you are looking for a rating, say for example, if your rating is better, you will get a lower rate of interest. If your rating is better, you will get the more money. But how you will be able to rate, then there is always a worry about the greenwashing, that it should not be resulting into the greenwashing, that okay, I will try to portray that my rating is better and I will get the more money from the market by the name of that, okay, I am a more sustainable, my organization is more sustainability compliant. So that is the point, Amitabh, that you are raising. And I have a lot of, so I can speak for one day on this impact side, but this is the reality. And that's why I just wish to share with you the technology like XBRL. I just wish to apprise you that globally the XBRL, wherein I am the director at the XBRL International, they are trying to develop the taxonomies. I visited once in a particular country where they are taking the data of the all the CSR related expenditure vis-a-vis the other operating expenditure of a company on the XBRL reporting. I just wish to share you, for example, if you are making a soft drink, you are actually taking the groundwater, and for preparing a 1 liter of soft drink, you are actually using the 4 liter of groundwater. Maybe that now the new, with the advent of the new technology, they must be also improving the situation. But actually, whether the CSR expenditure, so what is happening? Amitabh, I just wish to share with you, today we have the free trade zones. Now in the free trade zone, there is a large scale industrialization is there. They are taking the groundwater, but the company is located in, say for example, in the metro. The head office of the company is located in metro. They have the factory at the free trade zone. Now they are taking the groundwater from there, but they are doing a CSR expenditure in the metro. So how you will see the impact? Ultimately, the CSR expenditure should be targeted to that particular free zone only, to see that we are giving back the water to the earth from where we are taking. So that is something that the reporting mechanism can help us to develop that kind of a metrics by having, for example, the XBRL reporting, which is, I witnessed myself that they are beautifully tracking that where the expenditure should be aimed for, and then they are actually diverting the money. They are mandating that you have to incur the CSR expenditure not in Delhi, Mumbai, or the Calcutta metro stations, but you have to incur the expenditure, CSR expenditure, from where you are deployed. I will say that using the resources. I will not say the exploiting, but using the resources from a particular location. So that is something that the impact assessment vis-a-vis that paying back to the earth, paying back to the society, paying back to the ecosystem is something that we need to understand. And there is a lot of, I will say, the energy required. Even I can tell you, sadly, a lot of data quality is very important here. Because what is happening that in case you have a half-hearted data is there, the data is not so much of a qualitative data is not available, you will not be able to take the decision. And that's why I discussed and deliberated a number of occasions that you have to have a data which is more standardized, more machine readable language, and giving the more analysis to you, so that you will be able to draw the line that, okay, where you have to ultimately take the benefit of this MIS getting generated.
Thank you, sir, for that brilliant explanation, because XBRL for academia may be new, but we as practitioners know that it is one of the most convenient and very sophisticated method of reporting. Now, obviously, the question was because, I think academia needs to appreciate that they also need to contribute by doing research on what could be the impact area parameters, because that is one area I think, Atul sir, you would be really be helpful to highlight. And because, see, we have been told to report, but what to report, how to report, what should be the parameters, Yes, sir.
So, Amitabh-ji, not only I will answer this question, but we have a question from in the chat box that whether this is only expenditure or the benefit to the company. So I explained, maybe the person who is asking the question may not have heard that I explained this only even for more than 10 minutes, that it is not only the values. So values means the social moral values, that okay, it is the only the expenditure for you. Now today the CSR expenditure or the BRSR expenditure is required not only for the values but also for the value, meaning thereby in the times to come the existence of the company will be depend that how much expenditure you are incurring on the BRSR, whether the company is really a sustainable company in terms of the relation with the workers, in terms of the paying back to the society, in terms of the governance structure on the company. So my dear friend, I just wish to share with you that you please try to understand that we are not discussing here about the social mission, because the CSR means social mission. So each one of you in the hall is trying to is looking that when this session will end and we will go back to the canteens and enjoy. But I just wish to share with you that it's not a case that you are discussing about the business, because the CSR is not now restricted towards the expenditure or the social mission. The CSR vis-a-vis the BRSR is now well connected with the sustainability or even the existence of the organization. And as I mentioned you, there will be the plethora of opportunities, professional opportunities, lakhs and lakhs, millions of jobs will be there in the times to come. You read the World Economic Forum report. There is a huge scope of analysis and the data capturing, the data quality, and then sustainability investment, where the professionals will be required, where the people will be required to contribute. So please don't take this session or the next session as a social obligation that you are looking for, that you have to do a blood donation or something like that, a tree plantation. It's a business which we are discussing, and that's why you have to note down all the aspects which we are discussing. As far as the question which is being raised by Amitabh-ji, I forget the question you asked me.
I said, sir,
I have to tell yes. So I just wish to share here to the management and all the students here that when I discussed that there is a lot of challenges in the BRSR. So we need now the scholars, we need the PhD guys who will be developing these standards, because ultimately when we are looking for the reporting of the BRSR and the investment depends on that. So like the IFRS, like the Ind AS, like the accounting standard, when you are complying with the accounting standard, actually what you are doing, you are creating the financial statement which is comparable to any company in the world. Same way in the times to come, your BRSR reporting has to be comparable with the global society, and wherein a lot of research is required, because there will be the n number of terminologies, n number of concept which will be there in the business BRSR vis-a-vis CSR, wherein we have to monetize them, we have to quantify them, we have to measure them objectively, and that's the required a lot of research activity from the universities, colleges, and the professor and the students, that they will be able to contribute that how it can be there. So India being a leader in the thought process, India being the leader in the IT sector, let us be the leader in the BRSR as well, and share to the international community that we understand the BRSR and we will not allow the greenwashing, and we will give you the clear concept of the BRSR, wherein we will be able to become the leader in the society. Even you are aware that when we talk about the environmental, our Prime Minister has given a commitment that by 2050 or 2070 it will be net zero. But there are the large economies, the developed economies, which are not able to meet up the same. So please try to understand, the next time the investment will come only in those countries and the companies where there will be more and more sustainability reportings are happening. And that's the key which Amitabh-ji is trying to share with all of you through this question which is raised to me.
Right, sir. Right. Absolutely, sir. And I think if the students hear from a practicing chartered accountant, a president who has
Amitabh sir, I
seen
think
it all.
Guptaji has encouraged someone in the hall. So probably there may be some question from the hall. And there is also one question from Vaishali. You can ask someone from the hall. Is there anyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
I hope. Yeah.
So, as you have told us that a company which is having a net profit of 5 crore for consecutively 3 years can is obliged to pay the CSR. So, I would like to ask you that for say the pandemic hits and the company is going downward in a downtrend consecutively. So, what would be the CSR implications on that?
So I just wish to clarify you that in case the profit is not there, because we are talking about the average profit of more than 5 crores. So if the average profit of rupees more than 5 crore is not there, maybe first year it is 8 crore, second year maybe 7 crore, but third year if it is 3 crore, then the company is obliged, so if the maybe less than 15. So practically if the third year the average profit becomes less than 5 crore, then the company is not obliged to continue with the CSR expenditure. For the first year or second year, they may have the amount parked for the CSR expenditure they have to incur, but for the third year or even third year onwards, unless and until there is a 5-year average net profit is there, it is not mandated.
Thank you, sir. One more question I would like to ask that you have said that the company can carry forward its 2%
unutilized.
Yes, sir. Unutilized money, or they can carry forward the 2% CSR which they need to pay. So, if a company is cannot pay that 2% for say for the next year, so what would be the implication?
So as I discussed with you and clarified you that the company has to give in a board report that they are not able to, and next year they will. So if that continues as being mandated recently, that now the company going forward has to deposit that money into a specific bank account. So if, say for example, the company have the money, but they are not spending and they are only giving in the annual report every year, then as mandated that the company has to deposit the balance amount to a separate bank account, meaning thereby practically that will be treated as spent. And you can then withdraw the amount only for the CSR projects. Then you can't take money back from there.
Thank you, sir. That's I wanted to ask.
So, sir, as I discussed with you, it's exactly 6:10, sir, 18:10. So, I believe
there is a question from Vaishali Das at the.
Sir, I can't
box.
see the questions because okay, I just try to find out.
Yeah.
What do you think about the CSR is only expenditure? Sir, I answered this question from Vaishali Das only that it's not a values, it is the value which I am talking about. Then there was a question from the Nilanjana Dev. I answered. Yes. Share any notes related to the topic, sir. So Rameshwari Aklokar, I request Amitwaji that we have a CSR committee of ICI wherein they have developed these FAQs and everything. So I request you, sir, that in case you can download the FAQs and give to the college university. So I believe that will be useful for them as well, sir. Then there is a question. So other questions I have answered, sir. Any proof required to prove our expenditure? So it is the, as I mentioned, it is a voluntary statement has to be given by the board. But in case there is a false statement, certainly there will be the implication of the same as well. So it's a voluntary, as mentioned by Madam Barua, that it is a corporate stewardship that okay is which matters. The rest of the questions, as I believe I have given answer.
Great, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Listening to you. And as you told that our MBA students, and there are so many students who are joining in the YouTube and the Google Classroom for other universities also. Probably if a message has gone that in the next few years, it would be very, very important. They have learned some of the topics, some of the terms which they can carry afterwards. And that will definitely add value to their profession when they actually join. Amitabh ji, any comment from your side so that we can end at 6:15?
Sure, sir. I mean, thank you, Atul ji, for highlighting the practical aspect, because as far as CSR is concerned, even in academia, it is seemed to be just a tick box compliance. It is not taken as a profession as such. But now if we talk of the Reliance Foundation or the Wipro Foundation, if we see the mammoth area or even the Tatas, the amount of work they are doing, the amount of critical work, the amount of analytical work is going on, it has opened a new avenue for people who are graduating from B schools, chartered accountants, MBAs. So instead of going for the conventional jobs, this area is highly neglected, sir, as what we feel. And students need more and more moral boosting from people like you who have seen action, so that it does not come to them that we teachers are just trying to tell them from the academic point of view. But the reality is that apart from the manufacturing sector, IT sector, I think social sector, there is one more aspect, the social stock exchanges, which have not picked up in India. But again, when they do, this is a new emerging area which students should take very, very seriously. And thank you, sir, for explaining it in such a lucid way, so that I think now they will be more interested in learning about this topic rather than thinking of something else. It is not something which is ancillary, but they should focus on this as a career. So thank you very much, sir, for clearing all the doubts and being very precise in explaining it.
Thank you. I just wish to put a website over here.
Right, sir, please.
I just put a website over here. Maybe that in the times to come, if any of the colleague wish to, because we have just started a Section 8 company, NGO, just to create awareness about the BRSR and the CSR. So no funding required, nothing, is only academia, as you rightly mentioned, only the research work. So if any one of us looking to contribute in the research work, then most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Nothing will come and nothing will go. It only the research will come and research will go.
So ESGworldwide.org will sharing with all the 5 people who are here today. Thank you, Atalji. Thank you very much for the nice deliberations. And there are so many takeaways from this. There had been many questions which we could not accommodate because there were some questions in YouTube link also and other things. But we'd like to have your session in future also, sir.
Yeah, sir. On this website, we are updating all the research work which is happening globally on this line. So actually, it is a repository which we are trying to create for the benefit of the society. It's a self-funding kind of a, so it's not that they are taking any CSR fund or something like that. It's purely that our own initiative, that let us see that how we can promote the research activity. So anybody can go visit, purely free of charge, no cost, no login required. You can access every material from there.
It's a great contribution on that.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you very much. And
thank you so much.
We wish to have your session in future also.
Please.
Thank you, sir. So continuing with technical session 2, we are also very happy and privileged to have CA Vishal Wafsar, the head corporate sustainability of Ultratech Cement, with us. Vishal is a sustainability professional, having worked in diverse consulting and corporate roles for past 17 years. He is a leading ESG and sustainability. He is leading ESG and sustainability initiatives at Ultratech Cement, which is a Aditya Birla Group company, in his current role, and he has been working towards making sustainability integral part of business decision making. He has unique blend of consulting and corporate experience in driving ESG and sustainability and making business future ready. He has earlier worked in consulting role of Ernst & Young in the area of sustainability, climate change, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. He has worked with large conglomerates like Tata and Mahindra. He has been associated as catalyst with MIT Climate Collab project that is driving global effort on climate mitigation. He has also worked as an expert with United Framework on Climate Change Convention on various climate change assignments. Currently, he is associated with two prestigious global projects on climate. He is on Global Advisory Committee of RE100 program run by the Climate Group, and also the group for the cement sector run by Science-Based Target Initiatives. We are really fortunate to have a person in this particular area, and we will like to request you to share your views on business reporting, business responsibility, and sustainability report in your own way. So we request you, sir, Vishal sir, to take over the session now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your kind words, Professor Sarkar. Thank you so much. And it's again my privilege to be here joining for this session. I see a lot of bright minds, young people who are there as part of this audience, and as I also heard that there are a lot of people on YouTube. So I'll try to do justice in terms of sharing my experience at my current role with Ultratech Cement. Let me just share my presentation. I will use my slides initially, and then if time permits, then we'll let me just full screen if you can. Can someone let me know if the screen share has happened? Not yet. Okay.
Not yet, sir.
I'm not familiar with Google Meet. Yeah, it should happen now. Has it come?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So
Yes, sir.
you're able to see the slides as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have 45 minutes. So quickly I'll run through the new framework, which is BRSR, which has got introduced by SEBI and Ministry of Corporate Affairs. I'll just also quickly try to cover why this NGRBC, or so-called National Guideline on Responsible Business Conduct, was introduced. All of you may be aware that erstwhile disclosures with respect to non-financials were happening with respect to BRR, or Business Responsibility Reporting. This happened through series of years. Actually, it started from 2009. I have a subsequent slide on timeline. But yes, there were two major developments why this whole concept of NGRBC came into picture, and Ministry of Corporate Affairs wanted to expand the scope of disclosures by companies. So there were two major milestones. One is in 2015, all of you may have heard Paris Agreement, which happened on climate change, where countries agreed to reduce or take efforts to reduce the carbon emission below 1.5 degree. So that was one major event, milestone event. And another milestone event which happened in year 2015 was Sustainable Development Goals were introduced. Now, India as a country is committed. Plus, there is also something which India has signed up, which is UNGP, which is called as United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. So these were the three major drivers why Ministry of Corporate Affairs wanted to relook at BRR and wanted to expand the whole disclosure and include disclosure with respect to climate, SDGs, and UNGP. That's why the whole NGRBC came into picture. In terms of timeline for business responsibility reporting or BRSR related reporting, 2009 was the year when the voluntary guidelines on corporate social responsibility were announced. And then 2 years down the line, the national voluntary guidelines on social, environmental, and economic responsibilities were introduced. So this was the time when companies, there were several companies who used to report on a framework, global framework. Maybe the earlier speakers would have alluded on that, but yes, there is a global framework on sustainability which is called as GRI, or Global Reporting Initiative. So several Indian companies were reporting, large Indian companies were reporting on GRI. But 2011, when NVG introduced, and then subsequently after the introduction of NVG, SEBI introduced the business responsibility reporting, which is a BRR format. and it was made mandatory to 100 listed companies, top 100 listed companies. So BRR gave, let's say, an open-ended option for companies to do their disclosures on sustainability, which was just principle based. So there were like open-ended questions. Companies could respond to this question, and it was up to companies on what kind of data, what kind of quantitative data or qualitative information could be shared. Then, as I told you, 2015-16, around the same time when the work related to NGRBC happened, BRR, the SEBI expanded the BRR applicability to top 500 listed companies. And then lately in 2019, this was expanded or made applicable to almost top 1,000 listed companies. 2018 is when the update on BRR or the NVG started happening, and then 2020 is when the recommendation of this MCA committee on BRSR or NGRBC committee made those recommendations of disclosure. Now, key drivers, I've spoken on this, like UNGP, which is United Nations Guiding Principle on Business and Human Rights, was started to be applicable on Indian companies as well as companies outside India since 2011. And as I told you, Sustainable Development Goals were introduced, and Paris Agreement was signed up in 2015. Other than that, India has also signatory to certain core conventions with respect to child labor, which are driven by a body known as International Labor Organization. So here, both of these convention, it tries to define what is the minimum age of employment by children, as well as what is the worst form of child labor, trying to eliminate the worst form of child labor. So these were the key drivers why NGRBC was, let's say, the whole NVG was revised. A lot of feedback was taken by from companies and various stakeholders, basis which the changes have come in. Now, there were certain key terminologies which got introduced. Now, there is a concept known as circular economy. This was also introduced as part of this framework, and circular economy is nothing but trying to design a system, trying to design a flow of material system where nothing is waste, and you try to keep the utility of the material highest at any point of time. So you don't have any waste in the whole system. That is being driven by this concept called as circular economy. And this concept was made popular by one not-for-profit based out of UK. If you would want to know more, then Ellen MacArthur Foundation is a not-for-profit which has introduced this concept of circular economy, and that has got adopted worldwide as well as by Indian companies. Then on human rights or labor negotiation, the terminology like collective bargaining also was brought in as part of disclosure. Diversity is something which has got into attention lately, and with BRSR there is going to be more attention on how companies approach diversity and inclusion as an aspect. And when I say diversity, or when the framework also talks about diversity, it is just not limited to gender as a diversity, but there are various other facets of diversity. So there could be diversity with respect to caste, there could be a diversity with respect to age, ethnicity. Then there are also inclusion related aspects from differently able. So how do you treat people with disability and or people who are differently able, and how do you make them inclusive of your workforce? All of those elements are also being asked as part of the BRSR framework. And another aspect which also this framework looks at is product life cycle. So you don't try to look at the impact of, let's say, if I come from a cement company. So it is not about the impact to environment or society only during the manufacturing stage, but you also try to look what is the impact upstream when, let's say, material is getting mined and it is getting transported to manufacturing facility. Then we manufacture cement. Eventually cement gets consumed by builders or infrastructure companies, and it is being used to construct infrastructure, right? And at the end of life, that get demolished and it will be ultimately brought back into the system by recycling, or it may go as landfill. So you try to look at the whole product life cycle and not just the manufacturing stage. Now, what were the key salient features of BRSR format? The first thing is, yes, the BRSR has been made applicable to the top 1,000 listed companies by market share, and BRSR will gradually be also be applicable to unlisted companies or smaller organizations. So what SEBI and Ministry of Corporate Affairs wanted is, because currently maybe not more than 200 or 300 companies are reporting on that sustainability disclosure. So they wanted to give certain comfort to companies to start reporting. That's why they have introduced like two formats. One is BRSR Comprehensive, which is very exhaustive in terms of data collection and disclosure. And then there is something called as BRSR Lite, which is more of a toned down version where there are limited data points against which disclosure needs to be made. Now, when SEBI brought this for the first time, it was actually voluntary year, was earlier recommended as year 2020-21, financial year 2021, and it was mandatory for current financial year. But late last year, they made a change, and the current year is when a voluntary disclosure is expected from companies like ours, and then financial year 2022-23 is when it will become mandatory. So a lot of Indian companies will make disclosures against this framework for the first time in the current year. When you try to look at each principle, there are two principles which I'll take you through. There are 9 principles, but because there is limited time, I'll take you through 2 principles, and I also try to explain what is the difference between comprehensive and BRSR Lite. And then within both this format, there is something called as essential indicator and leadership indicator. So what it means is, any format you choose, whatever essential indicators are there are to be mandatorily been disclosed against. And leadership it is up to you. If you have you collect data, you have certain issues on the leadership indicator side which you collect, it is more of a voluntary disclosure for any format you choose on. Now you try to compare, I think certain thing I've already spoken on the previous slide, but yes, BRR was applicable to top 1,000 listed companies and market cap, but BRSR initially 1,000, but as I told you, it is also going to be expanded to list all listed and unlisted companies. So this will happen in phase wise. So eventually almost all listed and unlisted companies which fall under the ambit of Ministry of Corporate Affairs will have to make their disclosures in BRSR format. When you have to look in terms of what format in which to make disclosure, BRR was supposed to be made as a disclosure in the annual report, whereas BRSR, there is an online portal which is MCA 21, where companies like ours will have to make a disclosure in XBRL format, which is known as the business reporting format. Okay. And this is a portal on which the data will have to be disclosed. In BRR, there was just one template which was prescribed, and in BRSR, we know that there are 2 formats, light and comprehensive, which have been made available. Quickly trying to take you to what is a structure. So broadly, BRSR as a structure is divided into 3 sections. Section A, which is about general disclosures about the company. So here, companies are supposed to give details of what is the size of company, what is the revenue, what kind of products we have, and what are the key CSR activities of the company. So all of this needs to be disclosed as part of section A. In section A, companies are also supposed to say what is the proximity of our manufacturing location to any environmentally sensitive site. So this is also important for stakeholder to evaluate if there is any risk. So if you have operation next to a national park, and if you are impacting, you are creating any impact to national park, then that is something which may lead to maybe closure of your sites, and which may impact your production as well as your financial output. Section B is about the management and process. So here, what are the kind of policies you have as a company to influence BRSR? So that could be policy like environment policy, health and safety policy, anti-corruption and bribery policy, diversity policy. All of those policies have to be listed, and then it has to be public reference have to be given for the website. And then section C is about the principle wise disclosure, where for 9 principles companies are supposed to make their disclosure on. Just taking more deep dive into general disclosure, which is section A. As I told you, in terms of additional information, details like what is the location of plant, what are the location of offices, and whether it is anywhere close to any of these environmentally sensitive zones or no. Then there are information with respect to how many females are there as part of the board, as well as key management personnel. Because if you remember, I told you that this framework is also paying a close attention on aspect of diversity. So it wants to influence the inclusion of female as part of workforce, as well as the other elements of diversity like differently abled, LGBT, all of that. Then companies are also supposed to give details of any complaints or grievance which they have received as part against any of these 9 principles, right? Also, there are CSR related disclosure are also to be made as part of general disclosure of what has been the net profit, how the expenditure has happened, and the other general disclosures regarding CSR. The section B is about policies. So you list out all policies as part of section C, but other than policies, certain additional disclosures which are required under management and process disclosure is stakeholders. Now, what is stakeholder? Stakeholder is any maybe individual, group of individual, or a business which gets impacted because of your company's operation, or there is an impact from the stakeholder to your business. So certain key categories of stakeholders are, let's say, customers are a biggest stakeholder of any company. Then there are investors who are stakeholders to your company. Community is a stakeholder to you. Your own employees of the companies are stakeholder to you. The suppliers are stakeholder to your business. Then not-for-profit or NGOs are stakeholders to your business. So in section B, you are also supposed to give additional disclosure on how do you approach this whole stakeholder engagement as a process. So how do you identify who are the relevant stakeholders to your business? Then how do you communicate to them? So there has to be certain frequency of communication with stakeholders. Every quarter or every month, you are supposed to interact with your stakeholder, gather their feedback, and then basis their feedback, you have to make changes to your process, policy, or the whole business model itself. So this is a certain amount of information which will go as part of section B. And section C, as I told you, is all about the principles. There are 9 principles against which disclosures are to be made. Now, when you look at these principles, all of these principles are interconnected or interdependent. So what it means is, if principle 2 is there is a principle 2 on the environment and impact of product over the life cycle. It has clear linkage to principle 6, which is about environment management of your operations. Likewise, principle 3 is there, which is about employee well-being. It has clear linkage to principle 4, which is about stakeholder engagement, as well as there is principle 5, which is about human rights. So all of these principles have interlinkages between each. And again, as part of the whole disclosure in BRR as well as in BRSR, the accountability lies with the highest governance body, which could be board, or let's say managing director or the CEO of company. So details of that director has to be given, and accountability also has to be mentioned in terms of who is responsible, whether board or the CEO is responsible for making the disclosure, as well as that same person or the board takes responsibility of oversight on policies, compliance to those policies. Similarly, if there are any grievances during that year with respect to, let's say, whistleblower, anti-corruption or bribery, sexual harassment, which is against a POSH requirement, or let's say if there are suppliers who have any grievances, this particular person has the ultimate responsibility to look at those issues as well as take certain necessary actions against those issues. Now, I think in the previous session also, when the previous speaker was closing, the terminology for sustainability, the very popular terminology now which is coming into discussion is environment, social and governance, right? ESG. So when you look at the 9 principles which are there as part of the BRSR disclosure, we can clearly bucket them into the 3 pillars of environment, social and governance. So when you look at governance, which is G, there are 4 principles which can be bucketed under the governance. So principle 1, which is about ethics, transparency and accountability. So issues like anti-corruption and bribery, then whistleblower, all of that becomes part of the principle 1, which is under governance. Then stakeholder engagement, which is principle 4, is also part of governance. Then there is a principle on policy advocacy, and lastly on customer value, which is all of these 4 principles becomes part of the governance pillar. Then social or society, principle 3, which is about employee well-being. How well does the organization takes care of the employee with respect to maybe training and development, the learning agenda, growth agenda. Similarly, let's say if there are any issues with respect to maybe human rights, all of that becomes part of employee well-being. Safety, let's say having the safe operations, looking at health of employees, all of this is part of this employee well-being, which is principle 3. Then human rights is again part of social, and lastly inclusive growth is all about community development. So these 3 principles are under the social pillar. And lastly, environment is the first one, which is product life cycle, is principle 2, as I told you earlier, and then principle 6, which is on environment performance. So when you closely look at these 9 principles, you can easily bucket them into these 3 pillars. So what happens is that even if a company doesn't have a framework on ESG, and if they are making a disclosure against BRSR framework, and they can map this disclosure of these 9 principles, they can say that they are doing a disclosure on ESG by responding and making these disclosures to public through the BRSR framework. Now, quickly, what are these 9 principles? First one is business. The first principle is about ethics, transparency and accountability. So business should conduct and govern themselves within integrity and in a manner that is ethical, transparent and accountable. Principle 2 is about the product life cycle. So businesses should provide goods and services in a manner that is sustainable and safe. So both sustainability and safety of the product, goods and services which the companies introduce, disclosures have to be made under the principle 2. Principle 3 is about well-being of employees, which includes value chain. So it is just not taking care of your own employees, but also you have to take care of employees of your suppliers, contractors, and other value chain partners. Principle 4 is about stakeholders. So how does business respect the interest and is responsive to these stakeholders? So you identify your stakeholders, you hear them out, and you take actions against whatever is the expectation of your stakeholders. Principle 5 is business should respect and promote human rights. So human rights, things like child labor, forced labor, working hours, let's say providing the right kind of safety related PPE, right? All of this becomes part of human rights, which is principle 5. Principle 6 is about environment, but as I told you, this particular thing is about the environment, impact on environment because of your direct operations or your manufacturing processes. So here it is about your air emissions, water consumption, water recycling, waste management. All of this data gets reported under principle 6. Principle 7 is about policy advocacy. So how transparent are you, and what kind of policy advocacy efforts you make gets disclosed as part of principle 7. Principle 8 is about your community development. So it is about promoting inclusive growth and equitable development. So how do you take care of your community? What kind of CSR programs you have? All of that get disclosed under principle 8. And last is about customer or consumer. So over here, what kind of customer relationship you have, how do you address complaints of your customer, how do you go and talk to your customer, try to take inputs from them and then redesign your products or services. So all of those gets disclosed as part of the last principle, which is principle 9. Now, as I told you, only two principles I'll take principle 1 and principle 2 quickly, so that you know what are the kind of details is expected. So when you look at principle 1, disclosure for BRSR Lite, and as I told you, in each of the version there is something called as essential indicator and there are additional indicators. Essentials are mandatory and leadership 1 are something which you do over and above. So under principle 1 for light version, certain details like what are the kind of fines, penalty, settlements which has happened during the financial year needs to be reported. Then details of appeal or revision. So if there are fines in the previous year, what kind of appeals or revisions have got made needs to be reported here. And lastly, what are the number of complaints or cases against, let's say, bribery, corruption which has got registered. Now you may think why all of this is important. These are important because if you see so many issues come up in your company's operation and that may result into maybe closure of a company or the financial, it erodes the whole profitability or financial performance of company. So from stakeholder point of view, all of this information is extremely important. Now, what are the kind of leadership indicators? So leadership indicator is all of these details of fines and all. Here you are in leadership, you are also supposed to give details of non-disputed. So earlier one is more about disputed, but in leadership you are also supposed to give more details of non-disputed issues of fines and penalty, and that also have to be put on your website. Then what are the kind of corrective actions you have taken against those issues? That also needs to be disclosed on both the corruption as well as fines and penalty. Now, when you look at the comprehensive, so if in comprehensive, the additional thing which needs to be given is what kind of training and awareness you have. So there is something called as code of conduct which every company has. So what kind of trainings are you doing for your employees and your value chain partners on the ethics related issues or code of conduct? Then what are kind of meetings you have had with your shareholders or other stakeholders? Those gets reported under essential. Under leadership, what kind of awareness you are doing for your value chain partners? So essential is about employees and organization. Leadership is what do you do with your suppliers and contractors. So that are the additional requirements in principle 1. Now, let's say Ultratech as a company, we have started reporting for the first time. So what do we do? We have tried mapping, okay, what is the new format of BRSR? Over here, if you see, we have put all of these questions over here. And the blue color are all the new questions. So when we look at, okay, all of these things are additional questions which we have to report. Now, what do we do as a company? We try to identify which are the internal teams or functions where we need to wait. I am part of sustainability team. So I have said, okay, we have identified the secretarial, company secretarial team is someone who will help us do, let's say, the first question on training and awareness along with our human resources or HR team. So we have done this kind of thorough mapping of different data points. Likewise, for all of this, we have said it will come from our discussions with our secretarial team. So we have done a thorough analysis, and this is helping us prepare ourselves for the disclosures on each of the principles. So we have done similar comparison for different principles. Now, a quick case study, if you see some kind of disclosure under principle 1, one particular extract which I'm showing here is, let's say this is coming from Tata Steel. We know Tata as a group has a very robust governance framework. Tata has something called as Tata Code of Conduct, and it is integral part of the company value system. Now, what Tata Steel has done is, because they deal with so many stakeholders, and stakeholders may not be familiar with only English as a language. So what they did first, the code of conduct was made available on the website, and they converted this code of conduct into different languages. So because they deal with international geographies, they have converted them into languages like French, Thai, many more international languages. And in India also they have converted into 3 Indian languages. And all of this is like a dated information. Maybe they have added more languages over there. Over and above this, what they also do is they conduct ethics and the code of conduct related training when induction happen. And round the year, there are refresher programs which happen. So this is how, let's say, a company like Tata Steel has already disclosed some elements on the principle one. They will report more granular information in terms of how many trainings they have done, what are the kind of, let's say, fines or complaints which they have received. All of those will get disclosed as part of principle one. Quickly, principle two. Principle two, as I told you, is about it's all about product life cycle. Trying to businesses, which is about business should provide goods and services in a manner that is sustainable and safe. So when we look at the light version, then what are the kind of essential indicator? Companies are supposed to give details of life cycle assessment. So life cycle assessment is the same concept. Okay, what is the impact of a product over the entire life? So that needs to be given. And what are the kind of percent expenditure on R&D and capital expenditure made by companies? So how much investment companies making in, let's say, area of renewable energy, let's say investing into solar or investing into reduction of waste. All of this needs to be reported. And the third one over here is detail of process in place to it is more about collecting waste and then how do you have recycling of waste categories like plastic or e-waste or other categories. When we look at leadership indicators, here more granular detail. So in the essential, it asks for only percentage, but when you look at leadership, here the absolute expenditure needs to be provided. And in the percentage of recycle or reuse input material in form of total raw material also needs to be disclosed in the leadership indicator. Now, same way, how have we approached? So what we have done is, again, we have put all the questions. So if you see these questions, we have mapped over here as essential one. These are the all new format, and over here is the old format. So when we see the blue color are the new questions, and again we are talking to different teams and collecting data. So this is how you can approach. And this is my last slide. So we can have, let's say, last 10 minutes for question and answers. This particular one, as I told you, the principle two is about the impact of your product and what kind of, let's say, efforts you're making on life cycle assessment or increasing the percentage of recycled raw material. So this is a snapshot of some information which Ultratech as a company, we are publishing as part of our sustainability report. So if you see the chart over here, cement manufacturing, we consume a lot of industrial waste. So we consume waste which is fly ash coming from thermal power plant. We also consume waste which is slag which comes from steel industry. So there is huge consumption of fly ash and slag. And over here you can see over the period of 3 years how much quantity have we consumed. And if in terms of total raw material consumption, we consumed almost 17.2% is coming from this waste material. Other than that, if you remember, principle two also ask about how much spend you are making on R&D. So we are making almost 25 crore rupees is getting spent on our R&D effort. And we have also done life cycle assessment. So we have done life cycle assessment for 4 of our products. So all of this kind of information we have been disclosing. So this is a short presentation which I wanted to take all of you through. I'll just stop sharing my screen and I will be more than happy to interact and take as many questions as possible.
So, may I, sir?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. Vishalji, a very good evening. I was your detailed presentation and I was also a company secretary for ITC and we have done all these checklist forms and I was fortunate to be with ITC when the triple bottom line was introduced. I mean, way back in 2004, we had the 1956 Act. So
yeah,
people didn't even know what CSR was. So my specific question would be, sir, because you have drilled down every detail in a workable manner. Now, when I translate this information to academia or the new bunch of students or the budding managers, there is a perception that CSR, BRR are all reporting formats. That is perception one.
Yeah.
Now, when an MBA student goes for a specialization in HR, or he does a specialization in finance, or he takes up a specialization in operation or marketing, when I tell him that BRSR or CSR is something that you know, then he's always confused that I am specializing in HR.
Yeah.
मेरा role क्या है? Or somebody who's going to sell a toothpaste or a credit card, मेरा role क्या है? So
Yeah.
you get how difficult it is to sell this to the people who will drive it in the future, because as a person who's driving it now, in your position, you know that you have to collect data. Not only data, you also have to train the various departments to maintain data in a way that they fill into the BRSR or CSR reporting format.
Yeah.
So that's the major challenge. So my specific question in this background is, sir, that if you can explain that how can a person from HR contribute? How can a person from, say, finance contribute? How
Sure.
can a person who's specializing in, say, marketing contribute?
Sure.
Or how can a person who's a chemical engineer
Yeah.
contribute in your report?
Yeah, sure. So I think this is a great question, Amitava. And this is the kind of question which we always come across when we go and talk to our internal team. So in my role, if you see, I've done my first half of my career, I have done consulting. So I used to talk to clients. And now I'm doing internal consulting for my company. So when I talk to, let's say, if I pick the first function, which is HR, the question will always come, okay, what is my role? I don't see anything. I can just provide you data. That's all what I can do. But if you look at the whole concept of ESG or sustainability, is all about improving the performance, right? So when a HR person, if you look at principle 5, which is about human right, so the BRR as a format is just, let's say, a format of disclosure. Now, when companies will keep reporting on this data year on year, like we know, investors or shareholders want improvement in profits, revenue, right? Same way, when we are reporting on human rights, there has to be improvement. There has to be actions which have to be taken up by companies. Who is going to take that action, right? It is the ER person, which is employee relation within the HR function. So what happens in HR also, there are different facets of HR, right? Human rights. So specifically for principle 5, it will be mostly ER within HR who has to, let's say, look at the policy, implement all the requirements within the organization. So there is a great role for someone as a ER within HR to contribute into this particular journey of BRSR, or basically I say call more this as a value creation of the whole business. Now another element within HR is, okay, if you look at the template, it also tries to ask, okay, what kind of learning and development programs are there, right? So they need to identify training needs of their own people, so that the company can remain on that growth path, right? So if they are able to skill their employees in the right way, that is a contribution of the HR function in terms of, let's say, meeting the requirements of ESG or sustainability, right? So that was one example of HR. Now, when I talk about finance, so finance as a function, there is a concept like net zero or climate commitment. Now, stakeholders or investors are asking, okay, it is not about commitment. How are you going to achieve? So they ask, okay, what are the kind of capital allocation you will make in this 10-year period to decarbonize or move toward net zero? So then there is a concept like internal carbon price. So what you do is there is a, let's say in our case, we have an internal carbon price of $10. So the finance function who are creating the, let's say, planning and budgeting every year, whenever they are going to make approval of the capex, they need to ask questions to the team, okay, whether your project is, let's say, saving carbon, and if it is saving, then apply this CO2. Or otherwise, if your project is emitting more carbon, apply this $10 as a penalty, and then you give me the revised calculation of payback period. So this is a kind of role which finance person can make. And the other thing is finance function can also ask. If you remember that the principle 2, it also asks, okay, how much R&D expenditure are you making on making towards making a product more environment friendly or social friendly. So when budgeting is happening, the finance guy should ask, okay, are we as an organization spending enough on R&D, right? So that is a role, kind of role which a finance function can play. Likewise, when it is about marketing, then the kind of marketing campaign which you create, there the marketing colleague can say, okay, is the campaign which I am creating for my business, is it something which addresses the issues of the whole system? So if it is a textile company or a retail company, then are we trying to, let's say, sell more of let's say fast fashion, which is leading to overconsumption, which should not be the case, right? So that likewise, there are multiple things within marketing which each of the colleagues. So when I see all of this, let's say the young people who are going to, let's say, complete their maybe their graduation or their MBA, each one of them will have a bigger role to play going forward, because all of this is going to be mainstreamed in next 3 to 5 years, and the knowledge which they have on this topic is going to make them a very, let's say, successful manager in their professional life.
Correct. Thank you so much, sir, because obviously as teachers, if we tell them that this is a new avenue for employment, then the impact may not be such in comparison when a person like you says so, because obviously we are not used to cross-functionality. Somebody who's doing HR is happy doing HR, but as we evolve, I think in every aspect, be it legal, be it posh compliance, be it HR, we have to be cross-functional.
Yeah.
So I think that was a brilliant explanation, and your chart must have made some impression in their mind, because people who are specializing in HR, they would have seen HR. So
Yeah.
now they may feel a bit comfortable in studying this subject. I have one more question from the students. Yeah, Orindam, if you have the question, if you can kindly ask, sir. We are nearly running out of time. Yeah. Yeah, please ask it. Yeah. Yeah, you're audible, please.
Sir, I have a question with the BA, sir. Sir, as we have already seen in the slide that BSR can be prepared by both listed and unlisted company. And if a company, which is a holding company, and has acquired a company which is in a specific condition and it's not listed in the stock market, and is that company mandatory to provide the BSR report for that company, because they are in a bad situation, but they haven't available data for preparing the report. Are they mandatory to make a BSR report on that?
If I'm getting your question right, are you asking if, let's say, a listed company acquires an unlisted company, right? So,
yes,
so what happens is, let's say if I'm Ultratech and I acquire an unlisted cement company, what I can do is I can wait for a year or two to collect data, okay? Because when unlisted or a small organization you acquire, you cannot expect that all kind of the maturity of the organization will not be at the same level. So there is flexibility being provided where when you make the disclosure, you can say that, because every disclosure you are supposed to mention a reporting boundary, right? So in the reporting boundary, you can say that the unlisted company which I have acquired this year, I have not included my data over here, right? And that is flexible and that is acceptable. And then maybe once you start including that data, you work in backend for, let's say, 6 months, prepare that unlisted company to that level of maturity, and then collect data. And maybe in the subsequent year you add and then clearly mentioned in the BRSR that yes, we have included this in this particular year.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. There was one question on chat box. I think, are the ESG parameters are still evolving or standardized by SEBI will be followed so far? So yes, from a SEBI point of view, this is like the first effort we made where BRSR can be called as a ESG framework. And this kind of challenge is not just in India. If you look at globally also, this challenge is there, where there is no coherent or a single framework of ESG against which disclosures are being made. There are various frameworks like GRI, which I told you, then integrated reporting, which is IRRC, then CDP, then there are a lot of rating organizations like Dow Jones Sustainability Index or Sustainalytics. So there are different frameworks, and currently there are efforts being made to have a uniform ESG framework against which companies can make their disclosure. So just to answer your question, it will evolve. This is the first level of requirement which has come up, but this will become more stringent and the scope will keep on expanding. So I think that is what I would want to respond to this question.
Sir, time is almost done. Amitabh sir, can you?
Yeah, I think I have no more questions from my end. I have been able to, give some food for thought to the students, and Vishal sir has excellently showed the slides. I think that is something which is achieved over a lot of hard work. So it is not something that you just see in isolation. Everybody has to work as a team. So I don't think, Zamir Uddin, you have raised a question. Yeah, Zamir, if you have a question, please, you may unmute and speak. Zamir, you have raised your hand. If you have a question, you may unmute and speak. No, I think this has been done by mistake. So, sir, we have no more questions, sir. So,
Thank you, sir. It had been an excellent session, Vishalji. Really, it is great and totally comprehensive. No, you have given more than an academician and researcher the comprehensive things, and those who have listened to you properly might have a fairly good idea from a practitioner view of BRSR. Many things we cannot get in any book. So it comes from your pectoral experience. Really, we are fortunate to have you. Thank you very much, Vishalji, for joining.
Thank you. Thank you. And
thank you, Vishal. Thank you.
We will end the session for today, and we are really grateful to have Dr. Anurag Priyadarshi, the Director Sustainability from Tata Consumer Product Limited, who had given an overall view about the Tata's functioning on reaching the sustainability goals and how they are practicing. Tomorrow he has a technical session where he will explain it in a more detailed way. We had Ravi Kumar Patwaji of ICAI, who has given his view on the compliance point of view of various corporates and the Institute of Chartered Accountants role, how to ensure this. We have Sri Vijay Kapoor, a veteran in this field, in the field of reporting and compliance, where he has narrated a total historical perspective of the corporate reporting, and as well as how the essence and the inner feeling of all these aspects about the reaching of ESG as well as business sustainability reporting, where he is totally involved for last more than 30 years. In the technical session one, we have Atul Kumar Gupta ji, who had a detailed discussion on the CSR compliance and how from audit point of view, various CSR compliance are being noted by the chartered accountants. And if there are deficiency, what would happen? I think those who have listened to him will have a fairly good idea about the compliance rules, which are being followed currently as per the Companies Act 2013, as far as the CSR expenditure is concerned. And the last session on technical 2 with Vishal Bhavsarji about the practical experience in Ultratech Cement, how the things are done on business sustainability reporting. It had been a comprehensive session. Amitabhji, what do you say?
Absolutely, sir. I hope students have a food for thought. They can look up to this. Yeah, I have a comment. I think as a scholar working in CSR, it is very important. Yeah, thank you for the comment, because given my experience with ITC when we started with PPP, there were not many people who even bought this concept, not even the regulators. But later on, when CSR came in, ITC was the first company to have already done what people were just thinking of doing. And even Tatas don't need an introduction, because CSR is something which was in their DNA way back when JRD Tata had started the entire factory. So CSR is also there in our Hindu law. It is there in our rituals also. So this is not anything new, but we need to evolve and understand the legality behind it. And thank you to the ICAI members and the speakers like Dr. Priyadarshi and Vishalji, who have explained it so well. I hope the students and the academia benefit from it. I really am happy that we have somebody, who's working in the CSR domain and saying that, yeah, it is informative. Because unless we evolve in our research area, this is not going to go anywhere. And this is an open domain. This is enough for us to contribute as practitioners, as academicians, and look out to this aspect as a big avenue for employment. Employment in CSR sector, social sector is a big open sector, which people are not yet exploring. They are only thinking of getting a finance job, in a marketing job, ICICI may, I'll do that. Nobody talks of ICICI Foundation. Everybody talks of Reliance India Limited. Nobody talks of Reliance Foundation. No, everybody wants to get into Wipro. Nobody wants to get into Wipro Foundation. So I hope the students who are doing their MBA and all other students go into these secondary aspects and explore more.
Okay,
so thank you, sir. I think we should call it a
thank
day.
Thank you to Vijay Kapoor, sir, who is still with us. Papuri Bodua, madam.
Papuri, madam, exactly.
Gaurav ji, anything to add from your side? Gaurav Garodia ji?
I think he is.
Okay.
Vijay sir has come in. Please, sir.
Anything last comment from your side? Yeah.
No, I must congratulate the Tejpur University. It was really, as I said in the beginning, the mixture of people from industry and profession has really made the difference. And as Amitav has been pointing out, I think it is an open area, and one need to really look at many dimensions of the corporates, and it is going to be a great challenge. I think, as I stated, that there is a greenwashing. The world body saying that $35 trillion is amounting to greenwashing. See, I will not say, because I said Anurag has put me on the defensive, but exactly there is no framework, the way we are going to treat it. In fact, I always used to ask a question. I think I do not know whether I'm raising a right question or a wrong question. Why only profit-making companies will regulatory mandated to do into CSR? If I continue to make a loss, I must keep on enjoying the whole benefits. So where is the, say, when we regulate, when we mandate, I have not been able to get an answer for this. So if I continue to, some student did ask a question, it comes below 5 crores after 3 years, what would happen? Arey Baba, what we are talking, if corporate is responsible, that's why I always believe this is a topic in which as an individual, we must feel that this is our own responsibility if we want to live a healthy and happy life. Thank you, Professor, giving me an opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And really great to have you in the seminar. So we end up, we are as per schedule, 7:10 p.m. So we are ending up the session today. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., we'll have the technical session 3 for day 2, where we have CA Kamal Garg talking about the transition from integrated reporting to BRSR. And the second session will be a technical session on the principles and on national guidelines on responsible business conduct by Dr. Anurag Priyadarshi from Tata Consumer Product Limited.
And so just to add for the benefit of those who are going to rejoin tomorrow, Kamal Garg ji is a very seasoned chartered accountant, and I would not give any introduction. I would request all of you to just go to LinkedIn and visit his page. He shares knowledge on a real-time basis. I mean, I have seen him sharing knowledge maybe 5 times a day, 10 times a day. He shares knowledge based on very small snippets, saying these are my practical learnings per day. So if you actually copy paste all his sharings from LinkedIn and copy paste it onto a Word document, you will have a book by yourself. So he will be driving that session. So I don't think it will be worthwhile to, not attend the session. It is something which you will gain immensely, because he's another practical person who loves sharing knowledge. And obviously you have all met Dr. Priyadarshi today.
Okay,
so
sir.
thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Meet
Good
meet
night.
you tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.